My husband hired a private investigator to prove I was cheating, paid that man $12,000 in cash to follow me, photograph me, and destroy everything I had built. $12,000 to turn me into the villain of my own life. But here is what Vincent did not know. That same private investigator, he became my best witness, my secret weapon. The man who helped me put my husband behind bars for 23 years. Because while that PI was watching me, following me, documenting my every move, he saw something he was not supposed to see. He saw Vincent. He saw the lies, the other woman, the stolen money, the crimes that had been hiding in plain sight for almost a decade. And when that investigator realized what my husband really was, he made a choice. He chose to tell me the truth. Let me say that again so it really sinks in. My husband paid someone to destroy me, and that same someone, he destroyed my husband instead. Now I know what you are thinking. How does something like that even happen? How does a man pay $12,000 to ruin his wife and end up ruining himself? Well, let me tell you, Vincent thought he was the smartest person in every room he walked into. Thought he had everyone fooled, his clients, his family, his church, his mistress across town, and especially me. For 8 years he made me believe I was losing my mind, made me doubt my own memory, made me think I was crazy for asking simple questions. He would look me dead in my eyes and tell me things that never happened. And when I questioned him, he would twist it around until I was apologizing for things I never did. That is called gaslighting. And Vincent, he was a professional. But here is what he did not count on. He married an accountant and accountants. We notice when the numbers do not add up. See, Vincent thought he married someone weak, someone easy to control, someone he could manipulate into oblivion while he built his empire of lies. What he actually married was a woman who has spent 15 years tracking down fraud for a living, a woman who knows that money always tells the truth, even when people lie, a woman who knows how to follow a paper trail straight to the source. He thought he was playing chess while I was playing checkers. Baby, we were not even playing the same game. This is the story of how I went from doubting my own sanity to putting my husband in federal prison. This is the story of how a private investigator hired to destroy me became the key to my freedom. This is the story of how I took back everything Vincent tried to steal from me. My money, my home, my reputation, my peace of mind, and most importantly, my trust in myself. Because that is what gaslighting really takes from you. It does not just take your confidence, it takes your ability to believe your own thoughts, your own eyes, your own gut. Vincent spent 8 years trying to break that part of me. He almost succeeded. But almost is not the same as did. And now he has 23 years in a federal prison cell to think about the one mistake that cost him everything. He underestimated me. Let me take you back to the beginning. Back to when I still believed the lies. Back to when I thought the problem was me. Because if you have ever been in a relationship where you felt like you were losing your grip on reality, if you have ever had someone make you doubt your own memories, if you have ever wondered if maybe you really are as crazy as they say you are, then this story is for you. You are not crazy. You never were. And by the end of this, you are going to know exactly what to do about it. Now, before I get into everything, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button right now, right now, while you are thinking about it, and turn on those notifications because you are not going to want to miss what comes next. This story. It is going to change the way you look at the people around you. It is going to make you pay attention to things you might have been ignoring. And it might just give you the courage to trust yourself when everyone else is telling you that you are wrong. So subscribe. Do it now. And while you are at it, drop a comment below. Tell me where you are watching from. I want to know how far this message reaches. Atlanta, Chicago, Houston, Detroit, Los Angeles, London. Wherever you are, let me know. Because this story is not just about me. It is about every woman who has ever been made to feel small. Every woman who has ever questioned her own memory because someone she loved told her she was remembering wrong. Every woman who has ever felt crazy in her own home. If that is you, I want you to type 3 words in the comments right now. I see you now. Go ahead. Type it. I see you now. Because by the end of this story, you are going to see everything clearly, including yourself. All right, let me take you back to where it all started. Back to the life I thought I was living, and the life Vincent was living behind my back. My name is Denise Carter. I am 38 years old. I am a senior accountant at a Fortune 500 company, and I have been doing this work for 15 years. I am good at what I do. Real good. I catch fraud. I track discrepancies. I find the money that people try to hide. Companies pay my firm a lot of money because I can look at a spreadsheet and see what does not belong. I can feel when something is off even before I can prove it. At work, I trust my instincts completely. At home, I had stopped trusting anything, including myself. Let me tell you about my marriage. Not the version we showed at church on Sundays, not the version we posted on social media, the real version, the one that was slowly killing me from the inside out. I met Vincent Carter at a corporate networking event 10 years ago. We were both 28. He was charming. Lord, was he charming. The kind of man who makes you feel like the only woman in the room. The kind of man who remembers your coffee order after one conversation. The kind of man who opens doors and pulls out chairs and says all the right things at all the right times. We dated for 2 years. Perfect 2 years. He was attentive. He was romantic. He was everything I thought I wanted. We got married when I was 30. Beautiful wedding. 200 guests. My mama cried. His mama cried. Everybody said we were the perfect couple. And for the first year, maybe we were. Or maybe I just could not see the cracks yet. Vincent told me he was an investment consultant, a financial advisor. He had his own business, worked for himself, had wealthy clients who trusted him with their portfolios. He wore nice suits and drove a nice car and talked a good game. I never questioned it. Why would I? I was building my own career, working 50-hour weeks, climbing the ladder at my firm. I did not have time to audit my husband's business. And besides, he was my husband. I trusted him. That was my first mistake. The second mistake was buying that house. See, we found this beautiful home in a nice neighborhood about 2 years into our marriage. 4 bedrooms, big backyard, quiet street. The kind of house where you imagine raising children someday. Vincent said it was perfect, said we should make an offer immediately, said he would handle the financing. But when it came time to close, Vincent had a problem. His credit was not where it needed to be. Some old issues, he said. Nothing major, just some things that needed time to clear up. So I put my name on the deed. My credit, my savings for the down payment. $65,000 from the account I had been building since I started working. Vincent said he would pay me back once his business picked up, said we were a team and teams share the load. 8 years later, I am still carrying that load. Alone. Here is what my daily life looked like. And I need you to really picture this because I lived it for so long I thought it was normal. I would wake up at 5:30 every morning. Not because I wanted to, but because there was so much to do before work. I would make breakfast, not just for me, for Vincent too, even though he did not have anywhere to be until whenever he decided to roll out of bed. I would leave for work by 7, fight traffic for 45 minutes, put in a full day at the office, then fight traffic again coming home. By the time I walked through my front door, I was exhausted. But my day was not over. I would make dinner, clean the kitchen, do laundry, pay bills, and Vincent would be in his home office, door closed, always closed. He would come out when dinner was ready, eat, say it was good, or say nothing at all, then go back to his office. Or he would say he had a client dinner, a networking event, a meeting that ran late. I ate alone most nights, in the house I paid for. At the table I bought, surrounded by silence. And if I ever said anything about it, if I ever asked him to help, if I ever questioned where he was going or who he was meeting or why, I never saw any of this money he was supposedly making. That is when the gaslighting would start. Let me give you an example. Let me show you how it worked. One night, about 3 years into our marriage, I was paying bills. I do this every month. I pull up our accounts. I go through the transactions. I make sure everything balances. It is what I do. It is literally my job. That night, I noticed something. There was a charge on our credit card for $847, a luxury hotel, downtown. I knew I had not stayed at any hotel, and Vincent had not mentioned any business trip. So I asked him about it. Simple question. "Hey, baby, what is this hotel charge?" And he looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language. "What hotel charge?" he said. I showed him the statement. Right there. $847. The name of the hotel. The date. He barely glanced at it. "Oh, that," he said. "That was for a client meeting. I told you about it last week. I knew he had not told me. I would have remembered. $800 is not something you forget. But when I said that, when I said you did not tell me, he got this look on his face, this disappointed, almost pitying look, like I was a child who could not keep up. "Denise," he said, "I definitely told you. We were sitting right here in this kitchen. You even asked me what time I would be home. Do you not remember?" I did not remember, because it never happened. But he said it with such confidence, such certainty, and he looked so sincere. So I started to wonder, did he tell me? Was I not paying attention? Am I forgetting things? That was the first time I felt that twist in my stomach, that feeling of the ground shifting under my feet, and it only got worse from there. The phone calls in the middle of the night. I would wake up and hear his phone buzzing. I would ask him about it in the morning, and he would say his phone never rang. I must have been dreaming. The money that would disappear from our joint account. I would see withdrawals, large ones, and when I asked about them, he would say we discussed it. We agreed on it. Did I not remember the friends I stopped seeing? Every time I made plans with my girlfriends, something would come up. We had plans with his family that I forgot about. I promised to help him with something important. I said I would stay home. After a while, I stopped making plans. It was easier than the confusion afterward. My best friend Yolanda, I had not seen her in almost a year. My sister Patricia. We used to talk every week. Now it was maybe once a month, and even then the conversations were short. Vincent was always nearby, always listening, always making me feel like I needed to get off the phone. And my mama, Lord? My mama knew something was wrong. I could hear it in her voice every time she called. "Baby, you okay? You sound tired. You sound different." When you coming to visit, I would tell her I was fine, just busy. Work was crazy. Life was hectic. I would visit soon, but soon never came, because Vincent always had a reason why we could not go, and somehow those reasons always sounded like my idea. Looking back, I can see it so clearly, the isolation, the confusion, the way he systematically cut me off from everyone who loved me while making me feel like I was the one pushing people away. That is what gaslighting does. It does not just make you doubt your memories. It makes you doubt yourself, your judgment, your worth, your sanity. And the worst part. The worst part is that you do not even see it happening. You are so deep in the fog that you think the fog is normal. You think everyone lives like this. You think maybe you really are forgetful. Maybe you really are too sensitive. Maybe you really are the problem. That is where I was for 8 years. Living in a fog I did not even know existed, until the fog started to lift. And what I saw underneath it almost broke me. But I said almost, because almost is not the same as did. And I am still here, still standing, still telling this story. Which means Vincent. He did not win. About 6 months before everything fell apart, Vincent started acting different. At first I thought maybe things were getting better. Maybe he was finally coming around. Maybe he was going to be the husband I thought I married all those years ago. He started coming home earlier. Not every night, but more often than before. He would ask me about my day, actually listen to my answers. He would sit with me at dinner instead of disappearing into his office. But something felt off. You know that feeling when someone is being too nice, when the kindness does not feel like kindness. It feels like a performance. That is what it felt like he was playing a role, saying the lines he thought he was supposed to say. But his eyes were watching me, studying me, like he was waiting for something. Then came the vitamins. One day Vincent came home with a bag from the health food store. Said he had been talking to someone about nutrition, about stress, about how important it was to take care of yourself from the inside out. He pulled out these bottles of vitamins, said he had gotten them for both of us, but really they were for me. Said I had been looking tired lately. Said he was worried about me. "Baby, you have been under so much stress," he said. These will help. They are natural, good for your energy, good for your memory, good for everything. I should have questioned it. Should have wondered why my husband, who never cared about vitamins, suddenly cared about vitamins. But I was so hungry for his attention, so desperate for any sign that he still loved me, that I just said thank you. And I took them, every morning, whatever he put in front of me. Looking back, I want to scream at myself. How could I be so trusting? How could I not see what he was doing? But that is the thing about being in an abusive relationship. And yes, gaslighting is abuse. By the time you realize what is happening, you are so deep in it that you cannot see the edges anymore. You trust the person who is hurting you more than you trust yourself, because they have trained you to. So I took those vitamins every single day. And you know what? I started feeling worse, not better, worse. My headaches got more frequent, my sleep got more disrupted, and my memory got even foggier than before. I would forget conversations I knew I had. I would lose track of time. I would walk into rooms and not remember why I was there. And every time I mentioned it to Vincent, he would get this concerned look on his face, the same look he used when he was lying to me. "Baby, you have been so forgetful lately," he would say. "I am really worried about you. Maybe you should see a doctor. Maybe you should take some time off work. Take time off work." Now, why would he want that? Why would he want me home all day, dependent on him, away from the people at my job who actually respected my mind? I did not figure that out until later, much later. But even before I knew about the vitamins, even before I knew what he was putting in my body, something else started happening. Something that made me feel like I was truly losing my mind. I started noticing a car. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was driving home from work, taking my usual route, thinking about what I was going to make for dinner. Normal day, normal thoughts. And then I looked in my rearview mirror and saw a dark sedan about 3 cars back. Nothing unusual about that. Except when I turned left, the sedan turned left. When I merged onto the highway, the sedan merged onto the highway. When I took my exit, the sedan took my exit too. My heart started beating faster. I told myself I was being paranoid. Thousands of people take that route. Just a coincidence. But then I did something. Instead of going straight home, I made a random turn, down a residential street I never use. No reason for anyone to be on that street unless they lived there or they were following someone. The sedan made the same turn. I made another turn, then another. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. My breath was coming fast. The sedan was still behind me. I did not know what to do. I did not know who to call. So I did the only thing I could think of. I drove to the police station and pulled into their parking lot. The sedan slowed down as it passed. I could not see the driver through the tinted windows. Then it sped up and disappeared around the corner. I sat in that parking lot for 15 minutes trying to calm down, trying to convince myself that I was overreacting, that it was a coincidence, that nobody was following me. When I got home, I told Vincent what happened. I was still shaken up. I needed him to hold me, to tell me it was going to be okay, to make me feel safe. Instead, he looked at me like I was crazy. "Denise, nobody was following you," he said. His voice was patient, like he was talking to a child. "You have been under a lot of stress. You are seeing things that are not there. I know what I saw," I said. He shook his head. "Baby, listen to yourself. You think someone is stalking you. Why would anyone be following you? This is exactly what I have been worried about. The stress is getting to you. You are not thinking clearly." And just like that, my fear turned into doubt. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe the stress really was getting to me. I apologized. Can you believe that someone was following me and I apologized for bringing it up? That is what 8 years of gaslighting does. It turns your reality into a question mark. But here is the thing. I was not imagining it. Someone was following me. A private investigator named Marcus Webb, hired by my own husband, paid $12,000 to document my every move. I just did not know it yet. The next few days I tried to go back to normal. Tried to forget about the car, forget about the fear, forget about the feeling that something was very wrong. But I could not shake it. That instinct that lives in your gut, the one that knows things before your brain catches up. It was screaming at me. And for the first time in years, I started to listen. I started paying attention, really paying attention. I noticed that Vincent's phone was always face down, always on silent, always locked with a code he changed every few weeks. I noticed that he took calls in other rooms, would walk out mid-conversation, closing doors behind him. I noticed that his story about where he was going never quite matched up with how long he was gone. I noticed the receipts I found in his jacket pockets, restaurants I had never been to, charges that did not make sense. I noticed the way he looked at me sometimes, like I was a problem he was trying to solve, like I was in his way. And I noticed that car again. Not the same car maybe, but that same feeling, the feeling of being watched. This time I did not tell Vincent. I just wrote down the license plate. The accountant in me was waking up, the part of my brain he had tried so hard to turn off, the part that notices when things do not add up, and nothing about my life was adding up anymore. A few weeks later, my body finally gave out. I was at work in the middle of reviewing a financial report when the room started spinning. My vision went blurry. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my ears. My coworker Janine looked over at me, and her face went white. "Denise," she said. "Denise, you do not look right. What is happening?" I could not answer. I could not breathe. They called the building nurse. She took my blood pressure. 160/95. That is stroke territory. That is heart attack territory. That is your body screaming that something is very, very wrong. They wanted to call an ambulance. I said no, said I would be fine, said I just needed water and some air. But Janine was not having it. She made me leave, packed up my things herself, walked me to my car, said she would drive me if I did not call someone to pick me up. I called my sister Patricia. Had not talked to her in weeks, but she came anyway. Did not ask questions, just drove me home and made sure I got inside safe. When Vincent came home that night, I told him what happened. Told him about the blood pressure, the dizziness, the fear I felt. And you know what he said? He said, I needed to take better care of myself. He said I was working too hard. He said maybe I should consider leaving my job, staying home, focusing on my health, staying home, where he could watch me, where he could control me, where no one would see what was happening. I did not sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my husband snoring beside me. And I thought about my life. I thought about how small it had become, how isolated, how afraid. I thought about all the times he made me doubt myself, all the memories he told me never happened, all the friends I lost, the family I pushed away, the woman I used to be before I became this shadow of myself. And I thought about what would happen if I stayed, if this was my life for another 10 years, another 20. I would die in this house, not from a heart attack, although that was possible, but from disappearing, from becoming so small, so invisible, so unsure of my own existence that I would just fade away. And something in me said no. Not loud, not confident, just a quiet no from somewhere deep inside. No, I am not going to let this happen. I did not know what I was going to do, did not have a plan, did not have proof of anything except my own gut feeling. But I knew one thing for certain. Something was very wrong with my marriage, and I was going to find out what. 2 weeks before my whole world exploded, I came home from work and found something on my doorstep. It was a Wednesday evening. I remember because Wednesdays were my late nights at the office. I usually did not get home until 7 or 7:30. By the time I pulled into my driveway, the sun was starting to set. Vincent's car was gone. He had texted earlier saying he had a dinner meeting with a potential client. Would be home late. Do not wait up. I was relieved. Those nights when he was gone, when I had the house to myself, those were the only nights I could breathe. The only nights I did not feel like I was being watched. I walked up to my front door and almost stepped on it. A large manila envelope. Thick, heavy, no return address, no stamp. Somebody had put it there by hand. My first thought was that it was from a neighbor. Maybe someone had gotten my mail by mistake. Maybe it was a flyer or an advertisement. But when I picked it up, something told me this was different. That feeling again, that instinct. I brought it inside, set down my purse, stood in my kitchen and stared at that envelope for a full minute before I worked up the courage to open it. What I found inside changed everything. The first thing I pulled out was a single sheet of paper, typed, no signature. Just a few sentences that hit me like a punch to the chest. Your husband is not who you think he is. Check the numbers. A friend. I read it 3 times. Then I kept pulling things out of that envelope. Bank statements, account numbers I had never seen before, accounts that did not have my name on them, and the balances lured the balances. One account had $847,000, another had $234,000, a third had $156,000, over $1 million, in accounts I knew nothing about, under my husband's name. My hands started shaking. I had to sit down. But there was more. Photographs. High quality, taken from a distance, but clear enough to see exactly what was happening. Vincent walking into an apartment building. Not our home. Not any place I recognized. Vincent holding hands with a woman. Young, pretty, natural hair pulled back. They were laughing about something, looking at each other the way he used to look at me. Vincent kissing that woman, right there in the photograph, his hands on her face, their bodies close together. I could not breathe, could not think, could not do anything but stare at those images while my heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. But even through the pain, even through the shock, the accountant in me was working. Looking past the photos, looking at the documents. There were business registration papers in that envelope, a company called Prosperity Financial Partners. I had never heard of it. Vincent had never mentioned it. There were more bank records showing transfers, money moving from one account to another. A pattern I recognized instantly because it is my job to recognize it. This was not a normal business. This was not legitimate investment returns. This was a Ponzi scheme. I knew it immediately. The way money was coming in from multiple sources, then going out to earlier investors. The way the books were structured to hide the fact that there was no actual investment happening, just new money paying off old promises. My husband was running a Ponzi scheme, stealing from people, committing federal crimes, and he was doing it while sleeping next to me every night, while eating the food I cooked, while living in the house I paid for 8 years. I do not know how long I sat at that table. The light outside went from orange to purple to black. My phone buzzed with a text from Vincent. Meeting running late. See you tonight. I looked at those words and I felt something I had not felt in years. Clarity. Everything suddenly made sense. The secret phone calls. The money disappearing from our account. The late nights and business trips. The way he always kept me at arm's length from his work. And the gaslighting. Oh God, the gaslighting. He was not making me feel crazy because something was wrong with me. He was making me feel crazy so I would not look too closely, so I would not ask questions, so I would doubt my own instincts when they told me something was off. He needed me confused, needed me second-guessing myself, because if I ever started thinking straight, if I ever turned my professional eye on his books, I would see exactly what he was. A con man, a thief, a liar, my husband. I sat in that dark kitchen and I cried. But not the hopeless tears I had cried so many times before. These were different. These were the tears you cry when you finally see the truth, when the fog lifts and you realize you were never crazy at all. When I heard Vincent's car pull into the driveway, I moved fast, grabbed everything and shoved it back in the envelope, hid it in the one place I knew he would never look, the box of tampons under my bathroom sink. Then I washed my face, took a breath, and walked out to greet my husband. "Hey, baby," he said, kissing me on the cheek. "Long day. I am exhausted." I looked at his face, the same face I had trusted for 8 years, the same face that had lied to me every single day. "Me too," I said. "I am pretty tired myself." He did not notice anything different, did not see the way I was looking at him, did not feel the shift in the air, because he still thought he was smarter than me, still thought he had me fooled. But I saw him now, really saw him, and for the first time in 8 years I knew exactly who I was married to. That night I did not sleep, not because of anxiety, not because of confusion, but because I was thinking. Who sent that envelope? How did they know? What did they want from me? And most importantly, what was I going to do about it, because I knew one thing for certain. The woman who found that envelope, she was not the same woman who had been walking through fog for 8 years. That woman was waking up, and she was angry. The next morning I did something I had not done in 3 years. I called in sick to work. I sat in bed while Vincent got ready for his day, pretending to be groggy, pretending to still be half asleep. He came over and felt my forehead, asked if I needed anything, said he hoped I felt better. "Get some rest, baby," he said. "Take those vitamins. I will check on you later." I watched him walk out of our bedroom, heard him go down the stairs, grab his keys, open the garage door, listened to his car pull out of the driveway. Then I waited. 30 minutes. I waited 30 full minutes in case he came back. In case he forgot something. In case this was some kind of test. When I was sure he was gone, I got out of bed, and I went to work. Not my job. A different kind of work. The most important work I had ever done. I started in his home office. Vincent always kept that door locked, said he had sensitive client information in there, said it was for privacy, for professionalism. I had never questioned it, never tried to get in. But I knew Vincent, knew his habits, knew that he was arrogant enough to think he did not need to be careful around me. I found the spare key taped to the bottom of his desk drawer in the guest room, just sitting there, waiting for someone smart enough to look for it. I opened that office door for the first time in years. And what I found inside confirmed everything. Files everywhere, stacked on the desk, stuffed in drawers, piled in boxes. Names, numbers, amounts, promises. I pulled out a folder at random. Inside was a copy of a check. $85,000, made out to Prosperity Financial Partners, from someone named Dorothy Patterson. The memo line said, "Investment. Guaranteed returns." Guaranteed returns. In the investment world, those two words together are a red flag. Nothing is guaranteed. Anyone who promises you guaranteed returns is lying to you. I pulled out another folder, another check. $42,000. From James and Evelyn Monroe, another folder. $23,000. From a woman named Carolyn Webb. I kept pulling, kept finding, kept photographing everything with my phone. In 1 hour, I found documentation for over $2 million in so-called investments, mostly from elderly people, mostly written by hand, which meant they probably did not even have copies for their own records. These were not wealthy investors making risky plays with money they could afford to lose. These were regular people, retirees, grandparents, people who trusted Vincent because he probably met them at church or at the community center or through a friend of a friend. He was stealing from old people, from our people. I found 3 burner phones in a locked drawer. I did not try to open them, did not want to trigger any security, just photographed them where they sat. I found a laptop that was not the one he used around the house. This one was newer, password protected. I tried a few guesses. Our anniversary, his birthday, his mother's name, nothing worked. But then I tried something else. The date we bought our house, the closing date, the day I handed over $65,000 of my savings to start our life together. The laptop unlocked. I do not know if I should laugh or cry about that. He used the date he started taking from me as his password. What I found on that laptop was worse than the files. It was the full operation. Spreadsheets tracking who had invested how much. Another spreadsheet tracking what he had told each person about their returns. A calendar marking when he needed to pay out to keep people quiet. And emails. Hundreds of emails. Emails to investors assuring them their money was safe. Emails to banks moving money between accounts. Emails to a lawyer asking about asset protection and international accounts. And emails to a woman named Keandra Mills. I could not read those emails. Not yet. The pain was too fresh. But I saw the subject lines. "Miss you, baby. Tonight was amazing. Cannot wait for our future." 3 years. Those emails went back 3 years. He had been with this woman for 3 years while coming home to me every night. I photographed everything, every file, every email thread, every spreadsheet. I uploaded it all to a cloud account I created that morning, one that had nothing to do with any email address Vincent knew about. Then I put everything back exactly where I found it, locked the office, put the key back under the drawer. Vincent could never know I had been in there, not yet. Not until I figured out what to do with what I had found. I went back to bed, pulled the covers up, tried to make myself look sick. When Vincent came home that evening, he brought me soup, sat on the edge of the bed, asked how I was feeling. I looked at his face, the face of a con man, the face of a thief, the face of a man who had been lying to me every day for 8 years. Better, I said. I think I just needed rest. He smiled. Good. I need you healthy. I bet you do, I thought. A sick wife asks too many questions. 2 days later, I came home to find another envelope on my doorstep. Same manila envelope. Same no return address. Same hand delivered. This time, I did not hesitate. I took it inside and opened it immediately. More photographs, more documents. But this time, something new. A business card. Marcus Webb, private investigator. Truth has no agenda. On the back in handwriting a note. Call me. Urgent. I stared at that card for a long time. A private investigator. Someone had hired a private investigator, and that investigator was now reaching out to me. But who? Why? What was the game here? Then the pieces started coming together. The car following me. The one I thought I imagined. The one Vincent told me was not real. It was real. Someone had been watching me. This investigator, Marcus Webb. But if he was watching me, that meant someone hired him to watch me. And who would want to watch me? Who would pay money to have me followed and documented? The answer hit me like a brick. Vincent. Vincent hired this man to follow me, probably trying to catch me doing something wrong, probably trying to find evidence that I was cheating or unstable or whatever story he needed to tell. But the investigator found nothing on me, because there was nothing to find. My life was work, gym, grocery store, home. That was it. That was all I had left. So instead, this investigator saw Vincent, saw what Vincent was really doing, and made a choice. He was reaching out to me, giving me the truth, helping me when he did not have to. I did not know why, did not know what was in it for him. But I knew one thing. This man had information that could save my life, and I was going to call him. I sat in my kitchen holding that business card, my whole life scattered in photographs around me. My husband was a fraud, a con man, a criminal, and somehow a stranger had seen it before I did. The question was not whether to call that number. The question was, what else was I about to find out? Because I had a feeling this was just the beginning. I picked up my phone, dialed the number on the card. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. It rang once, twice. Then a man's voice answered, deep, calm, professional. Mrs. Carter, he said, I was hoping you would call. I gripped the phone tighter. Who are you? I asked. And why are you helping me? There was a pause. Then he spoke words that changed everything. Your husband paid me $12,000 to destroy your life, he said. But after watching you for 2 weeks, I realized something. You are not the one who needs to be destroyed. He is. And I think you are the only person who can do it. I could not speak, could not move. The private investigator my husband hired to catch me cheating was now offering to help me take him down. Mrs. Carter, he said, we need to meet. There is something you need to know, something bigger than the affair, bigger than the money. Your husband is dangerous, and he is about to make his move. I found my voice. When and where? Tomorrow morning. 10 o'clock. There is a coffee shop on Charles Street called The Daily Grind. Public place. You will be safe. I will be there. I hung up the phone, sat in the silence of my kitchen. For 8 years, Vincent had controlled the narrative, controlled my memories, controlled my reality. But the story was about to change, because now I had something I had not had in 8 years, the truth. And the truth, as they say, will set you free. But first it is going to make you angry. And I was furious. That night was the last night I slept next to Vincent as the woman he thought I was. The confused woman, the gaslit woman, the woman who doubted her own mind. When I woke up the next morning, I was someone else. I watched him get ready for work, watched him put on his nice suit, spray his expensive cologne, check his reflection in the mirror. I watched him smile at himself like he was looking at the most brilliant man in the world. You have no idea what is coming, I thought. Have a good day, baby, he said on his way out. Hope you're feeling better. I am, I said. Much better. And I meant it. For the first time in years, I was not confused. I was not foggy. I was not doubting myself. I was clear, crystal clear. I waited until his car disappeared around the corner. Then I got dressed. Professional, but understated. Something that said I am serious, but not something that would attract attention. I grabbed my keys, my phone, and a folder I had prepared. Copies of everything I had found. The bank statements, the photographs, the evidence of 8 years of lies. Then I drove to meet the man who was supposed to destroy me, the man who was about to help me destroy my husband instead. I do not know what I expected. I had built up this image in my head, some rough, shadowy figure, maybe someone who looked like he had spent too many years in the dark corners of people's lives. But when I walked into that coffee shop and saw Marcus Webb sitting at a corner table, he was not what I pictured. He was about 50, distinguished, gray at his temples, dressed simply but well. He looked like someone you would trust, someone who had seen enough to be tired but still cared enough to keep going. He stood when I approached, held out his hand. "Mrs. Carter," he said, "thank you for coming." I shook his hand, sat across from him, and looked this stranger in the eye. "Tell me everything I said." He nodded, took a breath. Then he told me things that turned my 8 years of hell into something even darker. Vincent was not just cheating. He was not just running a Ponzi scheme. He was planning to destroy me completely, to have me committed, to take everything I owned, to disappear with his mistress and his stolen money while I rotted in some institution labeled crazy by the man who had spent years making me feel that way. The vitamins he had been giving me. Not vitamins. Medication. Something to keep me foggy. Something to make his case that I was mentally unstable. The car following me. That was Marcus, hired to catch me cheating. But after 2 weeks of watching me go from work to home, to the gym, to the grocery store, and back again, he knew there was no affair. So he started watching Vincent instead. And what he found made him sick, because Marcus had a personal stake in this. 3 years earlier, his own mother had been swindled out of her entire retirement by a man just like Vincent. Same type of scheme, same type of charm, same type of destruction. When Marcus realized what Vincent was doing, who he was hurting, he made a choice. He could take his $12,000 and give Vincent what he wanted. Fake evidence, made-up stories, whatever it took to ruin me. Or he could tell me the truth. He chose the truth. Why, I asked him. You could have just taken the money. Why risk it? He was quiet for a moment. Then he said something I will never forget, because I watched my mother lose everything to a man like your husband. I watched her lose her savings, her independence, her pride. And I swore I would never let that happen to someone else, if I could help it. He looked at me with steady eyes. Your husband is a predator, Mrs. Carter, and predators need to be stopped, but I cannot do it alone. You are the only one with legal access to his documents, the only one who can build a case from the inside. I am asking you to help me take him down, not for revenge, for justice, for you and for all the people he has stolen from. I sat there in that coffee shop with my whole life in pieces around me. I thought about the woman I was when I married Vincent, young, hopeful, in love. I thought about the woman I had become, broken, confused, a ghost in my own life. And I thought about the woman I wanted to be, strong, clear, free. I looked at Marcus Webb. Tell me what I need to do, I said. He smiled. Just a small one, but it was real. First, he said, we gather everything, every document, every account, every secret he thinks is buried. We build a case so airtight that not even the best lawyer can get him out of it. And then we hand him to the FBI, and we watch him lose everything he stole, including his freedom. I thought about Vincent sitting in a prison cell, thought about him losing his smile, his charm, his ability to manipulate, thought about him finally getting what he deserved. I reached across the table and shook Marcus Webb's hand. When do we start? We already have, he said. The question is, are you ready for what comes next? I thought about my mama, my sister, my friend Yolanda, all the people I had pushed away because of him. I thought about the woman I used to be, the woman I was going to become again. I thought about 8 years of lies. And I thought about the truth that was finally setting me free. I am ready, I said. I have been ready. I just did not know it until now." Marcus nodded. "Good. Because what we are about to do is going to take everything you have. Your skills, your courage, your patience. We are going to play your husband's game better than he plays it. We are going to let him think he is winning right up until the moment he loses everything. And Denise?" He looked at me with something like respect. "I have seen the documents you gathered. The way you photographed everything organized, it backed it up. You are good at this. Your husband thought he married someone he could control. He married an accountant. And accountants always find where the money went." I smiled. For the first time in years, a real smile. "Yes," I said, "we do." I walked out of that coffee shop a different woman than the one who walked in. I had a plan, I had an ally, and I had something I had not had in 8 years. Hope. Vincent thought he was the smartest person in every room. Thought he had everyone fooled, thought his perfect plan was going to work. But his perfect plan had one fatal flaw. Me. And I was about to show him exactly what happens when you underestimate a woman who knows how to follow the money. The game was on. And this time I was going to win. The coffee shop was quiet that Tuesday morning. Just a few people scattered at tables, typing on laptops, lost in their own worlds. Nobody paying attention to the woman in the corner booth whose entire life was about to change. I got there 15 minutes early. Old habit from work. Always be prepared. Always be the first one in the room. I ordered a black coffee I did not plan to drink, sat facing the door so I could see everyone who walked in. My hands were steady, but my heart was racing. For 8 years I had lived in a fog, doubting myself, trusting a man who was lying to me every single day. And now I was about to sit across from a stranger and plan the takedown of my own husband. It felt surreal, like I was watching myself from outside my body. Marcus Webb walked in at exactly 10 o'clock. Not a minute early, not a minute late. He scanned the room, spotted me, and walked over with the kind of calm confidence that comes from years of experience. He was older than I expected, late 40s, maybe early 50s, gray at his temples, deep lines around his eyes that told me he had seen things. Hard things. The kind of things that either break you or make you stronger. He did not smile when he sat down. This was not a social call. "Mrs. Carter," he said, "thank you for coming. I know this is not easy." I looked at him, studied his face the way I study financial statements, looking for inconsistencies, looking for lies. "You said my husband hired you to follow me," I said. "Start there. Tell me everything." He nodded. 3 weeks ago, your husband contacted me through a mutual acquaintance. He said he suspected you were having an affair, said you had been acting strange coming home late, being secretive. I almost laughed. Me secretive. I went from work to home to the grocery store. That was my entire life. The only secrets in our house belonged to Vincent. He paid me $12,000 in cash, Marcus continued. Half up front, half when I delivered proof of your infidelity. He wanted photographs, documentation, anything he could use in a divorce proceeding. So you followed me. For 2 weeks, yes. I documented your daily routine, your schedule, your habits. He pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. This is what I found. I opened the folder. Inside were photographs of me, walking into my office building, leaving the gym, buying groceries, sitting alone in my car in the parking lot of a restaurant eating takeout because I did not want to go home to an empty house. Page after page of my sad, small, isolated life. There is no affair, Mrs. Carter Marcus said. There is no secret lover. There is nothing at all except a woman who works hard, goes home, and lives a very quiet life. So why are you helping me, I asked. Why not just tell Vincent there was nothing to find and collect your money? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. Because while I was watching you, I started watching him. I felt a chill run through me. What do you mean? Your husband told me he was worried about your mental state. Said you were paranoid, forgetful, possibly having a breakdown. He painted a picture of a woman who was unstable. Dangerous, even. That is what he tells everyone, I said bitterly. I know, Marcus said. But here is the thing. When I watch someone for 2 weeks, I learn their patterns. I learn their habits. I learn who they really are. You, Mrs. Carter, are not unstable. You are organized, methodical, consistent. You do the same things at the same times every day. That is not the behavior of someone having a mental breakdown, but your husband. His patterns were different. He would tell you he was working late, but I would see him leaving his office at 4 in the afternoon. He would say he had client dinners, but I would follow him to a residential building on the other side of town. The apartment, I said. The one in the photographs you sent me. Marcus nodded. I started digging, quietly, just enough to understand what I was looking at, and what I found made my stomach turn. He looked at me with steady eyes. Your husband is not who he says he is. He does not have a legitimate investment business. He is running a Ponzi scheme. He has stolen millions of dollars from dozens of people. I already knew this. I had found the evidence myself. But hearing someone else say it out loud, someone who had no reason to lie to me, it made it real in a way it had not been before. How many people, I asked? At least 47 that I have identified, possibly more. Most of them are elderly. Many of them are from black churches in the area. He targets our community specifically. People who are trusting. People who do not ask too many questions. I thought about those names in his files. Dorothy Patterson, James and Evelyn Monroe, Carolyn Webb. Carolyn Webb, I said suddenly. Is she related to you? Marcus's jaw tightened. She is my mother. Oh, God. She gave him $45,000 3 years ago, Marcus said. Her entire retirement savings, money my father worked his whole life to provide for her. She was supposed to be comfortable. Instead, she lost everything. I am so sorry. He shook his head. Do not apologize. You did not do this. He did. And that is why I am here. When I realized what your husband was doing, I could not just take his money and walk away. I could not be part of destroying another victim. Another victim, I repeated. That is what you are, Mrs. Carter. He is not just cheating on you. He is not just lying to you. He has been systematically destroying you for years. The gaslighting, the isolation, the way he has made you doubt your own mind. He leaned forward. I have seen this before. Abusers do not just hit. Sometimes they break you in ways that do not leave bruises. They make you dependent on them. Make you doubt your own reality. And then when they are ready to move on, they dispose of you. Dispose of me. Your husband is planning to leave you, Mrs. Carter. But not just leave. He is planning to destroy your credibility first. Those vitamins he has been giving you, I would bet money they are not vitamins. He wants you confused. He wants you unstable, so that when he accuses you of being crazy, everyone will believe him. My hands were shaking now. I gripped my coffee cup to steady them. How do you know all this? Because I have been listening, Marcus said. Your husband is not as careful as he thinks he is. He makes phone calls in public, has conversations he thinks no one can hear. He pulled out another folder. This is what I have gathered so far. Bank records, business documents, photographs of him with another woman. Her name is Keandra Mills. She is 29 years old. She works as a dental hygienist. She lives in the apartment he has been visiting. I looked at the photographs, the same ones from the anonymous envelope. Vincent holding hands with a woman half my age, Vincent kissing her, Vincent looking at her the way he used to look at me back when I still believed in fairy tales. They have been together for 3 years, Marcus said. She believes they are engaged. She believes he is divorced from you. She has no idea who he really is. She is a victim too, I said. Yes. And when this all comes crashing down, she is going to be caught in the middle. His criminal operation is run partly out of her apartment. Her name is on that lease. If we do not handle this carefully, she could face charges for crimes she does not even know are happening. I sat back in my chair, tried to process everything, the scope of it, the depth of the deception. For 8 years I thought I knew my husband. I thought the problem was me, that I was forgetful, paranoid, not good enough. But the problem was never me. The problem was him. And he had been playing this game the entire time. What do I do now? I asked. Marcus looked at me with something like respect. You do what you do best, Mrs. Carter. You follow the money. You document everything. You build a case so airtight that he cannot escape. I know people at the FBI, he continued, Financial Crimes Unit. They have been looking for someone like your husband for years. But these cases are hard to prosecute. They need someone on the inside, someone who can access records. Someone who has legal standing to be in his files. That someone is you. I thought about it. Thought about what he was asking. Stay in that house. Pretend everything was normal. Gather evidence while sleeping next to the man who was trying to destroy me. It was dangerous. It was terrifying. But it was also the only way. I looked at Marcus Webb. I am not doing this alone, I said. I need people I can trust, people who can help me think this through. Good, he said. Build your team. But be careful who you tell. If your husband suspects anything, he will accelerate his timeline. He will disappear with the money before anyone can stop him. I understand. And Mrs. Carter. One more thing. Yes, the vitamins. Stop taking them. Whatever he is giving you, it is making you foggy. That is by design. He wants you confused. He wants you easy to manipulate. But do not let him know you have stopped. Pretend. Palm them. Throw them away when he is not looking. But do not put another one of those pills in your body. I nodded, already thinking about the box of tampons where I had hidden the evidence. Maybe that was where the vitamins would go too. We exchanged phone numbers, secure methods of communication. He taught me how to use encrypted messaging apps that Vincent would never find. Then we stood up, shook hands. This is going to be hard, Marcus said. Harder than anything you have done before. But you are not alone anymore. I walked out of that coffee shop into the bright morning sunlight. For the first time in 8 years, I knew the truth. Now I had to decide what to do with it. I drove straight from that coffee shop to my sister Patricia's house. Patricia is 5 years older than me. She has always been the protective one, the one who told me not to marry Vincent in the first place, the one whose calls I had been avoiding for months because I was too ashamed to admit she might have been right. She opened the door and took one look at my face. "Oh, baby," she said, "come inside." She did not ask questions. Not yet, just wrapped me in a hug and held on until I stopped shaking. Patricia had a way of making you feel safe. Maybe it was because she was a nurse practitioner. She had spent her whole career taking care of people in their worst moments. She knew when to talk and when to just be present. "I need help," I finally said. "I need people I can trust, and I need you to call Yolanda." Patricia pulled back and looked at me. "Yolanda. You have not talked to her in almost a year. I know, and I need to apologize for that. But right now, I need my sister circle. I need the people who knew me before Vincent." Patricia did not hesitate. She picked up her phone and made the call. 3 hours later, we were all sitting in Patricia's living room. Me, Patricia, and Yolanda Freeman, my best friend since we were 12 years old. Yolanda had come straight from work, still in her professional clothes, still wearing the same concerned expression she used when she was dealing with difficult cases at her social work job. When she walked in, I stood up, did not know what to say. Sorry seemed too small for a year of silence, a year of ignored calls and canceled plans, a year of letting Vincent push her out of my life. But Yolanda just crossed the room and hugged me. "Girl," she said, "I have been waiting for this call. I knew something was wrong. I just could not reach you." "I am so sorry," I whispered. "Do not apologize. Just tell us what is happening." So I did. I told them everything, from the beginning, the gaslighting, the isolation, the way Vincent made me doubt my own mind for 8 years. I told them about the vitamins, the car following me, the anonymous envelopes. I told them about the Ponzi scheme, the stolen money, the 47 victims. I told them about Keandra, the other woman, the life he was living while I was home alone in a house I paid for, and I told them about Marcus Webb, the private investigator hired to destroy me who had become my unexpected ally. When I finished, the room was silent. Patricia spoke first. "I am going to kill him." "No," I said. "You are not. Because that would put you in prison, and I need you out here helping me." Patricia's jaw was tight. Her hands were clenched. She had never liked Vincent. Now I understood why. "My instincts were right," she said. "From the very beginning. Something about him never sat right with me. The way he was always too perfect, too smooth. Nobody is that charming unless they are hiding something. I should have listened to you." Patricia shook her head. "No, that is not how it works. You cannot see the manipulation when you are inside it. That is the whole point. He was good at this, Denise, scarily good." Yolanda leaned forward. "So what is the plan? What do you need from us?" I need help documenting everything. I need a safe place to store evidence. I need people who can think clearly when I cannot. And I need to get those vitamins tested." Patricia nodded. "Give them to me. I know people at the hospital lab. We can get them analyzed without anyone asking questions. I need to rebuild my life," I said. "But I need to do it quietly. Vincent cannot know anything has changed. If he suspects I am onto him, he will run. He will disappear with all that money, and all those people will never see justice. So you have to pretend," Yolanda said. "Pretend everything is normal while you gather evidence." "Yes. For how long, I do not know. Weeks, maybe longer. However long it takes to build a case that will put him away for good." Yolanda exchanged a look with Patricia. "Then we need more help," Yolanda said. "We need someone who knows the legal side, someone who can tell us what evidence will actually hold up in court." I thought for a moment. Then it came to me. What about Monique Turner? Monique had been part of our circle back in college, a few years older than us, but we had all run in the same groups. She went on to become a family law attorney, divorced now after going through her own hell with an abusive husband. If anyone would understand what I was going through, it was her. Patricia was already reaching for her phone. "I will call her." Within an hour, Monique was at the door. She looked good, better than I remembered, confident, strong, like someone who had walked through fire and come out the other side. "Denise," she said, hugging me. "I heard through the grapevine that things were hard, but I had no idea how hard. I am so sorry I did not reach out." "Nobody did," I said, "because he made sure of it. He isolated me from everyone who might have seen through him." "Classic abuser behavior," Monique said, sitting down. "They cut you off from your support system so you have no one to reality check with, no one to tell you that what is happening is not normal." She looked around the room at our little circle. "Okay, tell me everything, from the beginning. Leave nothing out." So I told the story again, every detail, every piece of evidence. When I finished, Monique was quiet for a long moment. "This is bigger than divorce," she finally said. "This is federal. Wire fraud, money laundering, financial exploitation of the elderly. Your husband is looking at serious prison time if this gets prosecuted correctly. The PI I met with said he has contacts at the FBI," I said. "Financial Crimes Unit." "Good. We are going to need them. But first, we need to make sure you are protected, legally and financially." "What do you mean? Your name is on the house, right?" "Yes. My down payment, my credit, my mortgage payments. What about the bank accounts?" "We have a joint account. But I am starting to realize he has been siphoning money out of it for years." Monique nodded. "First thing tomorrow, you need to quietly open an account in your name only. Do not close the joint account. Do not do anything that would alert him. But start moving a portion of your paycheck into the new account. Build yourself an emergency fund he cannot touch. What about the house? The house is in your name. That is huge. He cannot sell it without your signature. He cannot kick you out of your own property. When this all goes down, you have a place to land. But if I divorce him, would he not get half? Normally, yes. But here is where his crimes help you. If he obtained marital assets through fraud, those assets can be clawed back. The victims have first claim. And given that he contributed almost nothing financially while you paid for everything, you have a strong case for keeping what is rightfully yours. So I'm not going to lose everything." Monique smiled grimly. "Honey, you are not the one who is going to lose. He is. But we have to be smart about this. We have to build a case so strong that he cannot wriggle out of it." She pulled out a legal pad and started writing. "Here is what we need. Financial records going back at least 5 years. Bank statements, tax returns, credit card bills. Everything that shows the flow of money. We need documentation of his business, client lists, investment promises, what he told people versus what actually happened with their money. We need evidence of the affair, photographs, correspondence, anything that proves the relationship with this Keandra woman. And we need the vitamins tested. If he has been drugging you, that is a separate crime, and it destroys any argument he might make about your mental state." Patricia spoke up. "I can handle the vitamin testing. I will have results within a few days." Yolanda Monique looked at her. "You work with vulnerable populations. Any of your colleagues have connections to elder abuse investigations?" Actually, yes. There is a detective I work with sometimes on cases involving financial exploitation. Angela Brooks. She is tough, she is smart, and she hates predators like Vincent. Perfect. We may need to bring her in when the time is right. Monique turned back to me. Denise, you have the hardest job of all. You have to go home. You have to sleep next to him. You have to pretend nothing has changed while you are gathering evidence. Can you do that? I thought about it. 8 years of pretending. 8 years of smiling when I wanted to scream. 8 years of swallowing my doubts and my fears and my instincts. In a twisted way, Vincent had trained me for this. He had taught me how to hide what I was really feeling, how to perform normalcy when everything inside me was chaos. Yes, I said. I can do it. I have been pretending for 8 years. What is a few more weeks? Good. Monique gathered her notes. We meet again in 3 days. Everyone brings what they have. We compile. We organize. We build. She looked around at our circle. Ladies, we are about to take down a con man, and we are going to do it the right way. Through the system, through the law, through the truth. He thought he married someone he could control. He thought he had broken her beyond repair. But he forgot one thing. She looked at me with fierce pride in her eyes. He forgot that strong women do not stay broken. We heal, we rise, and we fight back. I looked around at the faces of my sister circle. Patricia, Yolanda, Monique. For years, Vincent had made me feel alone, had cut me off from everyone who loved me. But I was not alone anymore. I had an army, and we were coming for him. The next 2 weeks were the most difficult of my life. Every morning I woke up next to Vincent, made breakfast, smiled, asked about his day, pretended to take those vitamins he kept pushing on me. And every moment he was gone, I was working. Let me tell you what I found. I started with the financial records. This was my territory. This was what I did for a living. Track money. Follow paper trails. Find the things people try to hide. Vincent thought he was smart, thought his system was sophisticated. But to someone who audits Fortune 500 companies for fraud, his books were amateur hour. He had 6 shell companies. I found all of them. Different names, different bank accounts, but all connected if you knew where to look. Money would come in from investors, flow through the shells, and eventually end up in offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. The Cayman Islands, classic move for people trying to hide money from the government. Vincent was not just a con man. He was a con man with delusions of grandeur. I documented everything, photographed every statement, created spreadsheets tracking every dollar. What I found made me sick. 47 confirmed victims. That number kept growing as I dug deeper. People who had given him $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. Some had given him their entire life savings. And who were these people? Mrs. Dorothy Patterson, age 72, retired school teacher, gave Vincent $85,000. Her late husband's pension, Deacon James Monroe and his wife Evelyn, both in their 70s, gave $42,000. Money they were saving for their grandchildren's college education. Carolyn Webb Marcus's mother, age 74, $45,000. Everything she had. There were more, so many more, and they all had something in common. They were black, they were elderly, and they met Vincent at church. That is how he found them, through church. Through community events, through prayer groups and Bible studies and Sunday services, he would show up looking sharp in his suit, speaking smooth with that charming smile, quoting scripture and talking about how God wanted his people to prosper. He would tell them about his investment firm, about guaranteed returns, about how he was trying to help the community build generational wealth. And they trusted him because he looked like them, talked like them, prayed with them. He used their faith against them. When I think about that, when I think about him sitting in a pew, singing hymns, shaking hands with elderly people he was planning to rob blind, I feel a rage so deep, it scares me. This man slept in my bed, ate the food I cooked, said he loved me, and all the while he was destroying lives, stealing futures, crushing dreams. But the financial crimes were not all I found. I found Keandra, not just photographs, not just documentation. I found the whole story. Her apartment was across town in a nice building with a doorman. Rent was $3,000 a month. Vincent paid it. He had been going there for 3 years. 3 years of a parallel life. 3 years of another woman who thought she was the only one. I found emails between them, hundreds of emails, going back to the beginning. In the early ones, he was charming, romantic, the same man who had courted me a decade earlier. Same lines, same moves, same lies. He told her he was divorced, said his ex-wife had been crazy and abusive, said he had finally escaped and was ready to love again. He told her he was a successful investment consultant, said he was building an empire that would take care of both of them forever. He told her they would get married, showed her rings, talked about venues and guest lists and honeymoons. I found a folder on his laptop labeled Wedding Plans. Inside were venue contracts, catering menus, a guest list, a date. 6 months from now. He was planning to marry her, actually marry her, while still married to me. How was he going to explain that? Was he going to forge divorce papers, fake my death? I had no idea what his plan was, but knowing Vincent, he had one. I thought finding out about the affair would break me. But by this point, I was numb to the personal betrayal. What hurt more was the scope of it, the depth of the deception. This man had built an entire false existence. 2 homes, 2 women, dozens of victims, millions of dollars, and he had done it all while making me think I was the crazy one. But here is the thing about lies. The bigger they are, the more evidence they leave behind. And I was collecting all of it. Every email, every bank statement, every photograph, every piece of proof that Vincent Carter was not just an unfaithful husband. He was a criminal, and criminals eventually get caught. I also found something I was not expecting. While going through Vincent's files, I came across a folder labeled DC Escape Plan. Inside were documents that made my blood run cold. 2 passports, one in Vincent's real name, one in a different name entirely, Michael Thompson. Same photograph, different identity. Flight itineraries, one-way tickets to the Cayman Islands dated for 2 months from now. A printed bank statement showing the offshore account balance. $2.3 million. Real estate listings in the Caymans. Beachfront properties, luxury condos, and a letter. Written to Keandra. Never sent. My love, it began. By the time you read this, we will be starting our new life together. I know the past few years have been difficult, but all the sacrifices were worth it. We are finally free, free from the past, free from the people who never appreciated us, free to live the life we deserve. I read it 3 times. He was planning to run, take the money, take the other woman, disappear to a country with no extradition treaty. And what about me? There was another letter, this one addressed to a lawyer. Instructions for what to do after he was gone. He wanted me institutionalized, committed to a psychiatric facility based on his documentation of my mental instability. He had been building a case against me, collecting evidence of my supposed paranoia, my forgetfulness, my emotional outbursts, all the things he had manufactured by gaslighting me for years. He was not just going to leave me, he was going to destroy me on his way out the door, make it impossible for anyone to believe me if I ever figured out what he had done, make me look crazy, so that even if I accused him of crimes, no one would listen. It was brilliant. Evil, but brilliant. And it almost worked. If Marcus Webb had been a different kind of man, if he had just done the job he was paid to do, Vincent would have succeeded. I would be sitting in a psychiatric ward right now, drugged into silence, while my husband lived on a beach with his mistress and his stolen millions. But Marcus made a different choice, and now Vincent's perfect plan was about to fall apart. I copied everything, every document, every email, every piece of his escape plan. Then I put it all back exactly where I found it. He had no idea I knew, no idea that his carefully constructed house of cards was about to collapse, and I intended to keep it that way until the moment the handcuffs clicked around his wrists. Patricia called me on a Thursday afternoon. Her voice was tight, controlled. The voice she used when she had to deliver bad news to patients and their families. The results came back, she said. We need to meet. Now. I left work early, told my boss I had a family emergency. It was not a lie. We met at Mama's house. That was becoming our safe place. The one location Vincent would never think to look. He had pushed me away from my mother years ago. He had no idea I had started reconnecting with her. Mama was in the kitchen when I arrived, made tea, sat us down at the table where I had eaten Sunday dinners as a child, the table where I felt safest. Patricia put a folder in front of me. I had a friend at the hospital run the analysis, she said. Off the books, no paper trail. She opened the folder. What he has been giving you is not vitamins. It is a compound, primarily low-dose benzodiazepine mixed with a mild antihistamine. I stared at the report. The words blurred together. What does that mean? Mama asked. Patricia's jaw was tight. Benzodiazepines affect memory and cognitive function. In low doses over a long period, they cause confusion, difficulty concentrating, and problems forming new memories. The antihistamine amplifies the sedative effect. She looked at me. Denise, you were not losing your mind. You were being systematically drugged. The room was quiet. I could hear the clock ticking on the wall, the refrigerator humming. Normal sounds in a moment that was anything but normal. For 2 years, I said slowly, he has been giving me those every morning for 2 years. Your symptoms make complete sense now, Patricia said. The brain fog, the memory issues, the headaches, the confusion, all side effects of long-term benzodiazepine use, and it would not show up on a regular test, no. The doses were low enough to avoid detection in standard screenings. Someone who knew what they were doing formulated this. It was designed to incapacitate you slowly, without leaving obvious evidence. I thought about all the times I had doubted myself, all the conversations Vincent claimed we had that I could not remember, all the moments I thought I was losing my grip on reality. It was not me. It was never me. He was poisoning me. That man, Mama said, her voice shaking with fury. That man has been poisoning my baby. Patricia reached over and took my hand. The good news is that the effects are reversible. Now that you have stopped taking them, your cognitive function should return to normal within a few weeks. You might already be noticing the difference. I was. I had been noticing for days, the fog lifting, my thoughts getting clearer, my memory sharpening. I thought I was just stressed, I said. I thought my brain was coming back because I was finally facing the truth. The truth is part of it, Patricia said. But so is getting that poison out of your system. Mama stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the backyard where I used to play as a child. What kind of man does this, she asked. What kind of demon walks among us looking like a normal person? The kind who has been doing it for years, I said. The kind who has it down to a science. The kind who thinks he is so smart that no one will ever catch him. We are going to catch him, Patricia said firmly. This is not just financial crime anymore. This is assault. This is attempted poisoning. When we go to the FBI, we bring this evidence too. I looked at the lab report. Proof. Physical, undeniable proof that my husband had been chemically altering my brain for 2 years. Part of me wanted to confront him right then, walk into that house and throw the report in his face. Watch his expression when he realized his plan had failed. But that was not the smart play. Marcus had been clear about that. Monique had been clear. We had to build the case completely before making any moves, so I would go home. Pretend to take those pills tomorrow morning. Smile at the man who had been slowly poisoning me. And I would add this to the mountain of evidence that was going to bury him. Can we prove it was intentional? I asked. Can we prove he knew what he was giving me? Patricia nodded. I found something else while I was researching. That specific combination is not something you can buy off the shelf. It would have to be custom formulated, which means there is a pharmacist or a chemist somewhere who made it for him. We need to find that person, Mama said. Marcus might be able to help with that, I said. He has resources for tracking things down. Good. Patricia closed the folder and handed it to me. Keep this with the rest of your evidence. And Denise. Yes, you are the strongest person I know. What you are doing right now, living in that house pretending everything is normal, gathering evidence against the man who abused you for years. That takes more courage than most people will ever have. I did not feel courageous. I felt scared and angry and exhausted. But I also felt something else. Clear. For the first time in years, my mind was my own again. My thoughts were sharp. My instincts were alive. Vincent had tried to take my sanity, had spent 2 years chemically suppressing my ability to think clearly, but I was thinking clearly now, and that was going to be his undoing. That night I went home, made dinner, sat across from Vincent at the table. He asked about my day. I told him it was fine. Boring, the usual. He smiled. That charming smile that used to make my heart flutter. Now it just made my stomach turn. "You seem better," he said. "More like yourself. Maybe the vitamins are finally working." I looked at him, kept my face neutral. Maybe I said, "I have been feeling clearer lately." He had no idea how true that was, and he had no idea that his time was running out. I should have hated Keandra Mills. Every time I looked at those photographs of her with my husband, every time I read their love letters, every time I thought about her in that apartment he paid for with stolen money, I should have been consumed with rage. But I was not. Maybe I was too exhausted for jealousy. Maybe I had already grieved the death of my marriage so completely that there was nothing left to feel. Or maybe, just maybe, I could see what Marcus saw. She was a victim too. Vincent had lied to her just like he lied to me, told her a story, made her believe in a future that was never going to happen, used her apartment as a front for his criminal operations without her knowledge. And now she was pregnant. I found out about the pregnancy while going through Vincent's recent emails. He did not know yet. She had not told him. But I saw the receipt for the pregnancy test, saw the confirmation email from an obstetrician office. She was 4 months along, carrying my husband's child. Planning to tell him any day now, planning to start a family with a man who would be in prison by the time that baby learned to walk. Marcus and I debated what to do about her. "She is a liability," he said. "If she tips him off, he runs." All of this was for nothing. "But she is also an asset," I countered. "She has access to that apartment. She can tell us things we cannot find in documents. So which is she? That depends on how we approach her." We decided I would go alone, woman to woman, give her the best chance to hear me without feeling threatened. I chose a Saturday afternoon. Vincent had told me he was going to a conference out of town, which probably meant he was spending the weekend with her. I waited until his car pulled out of the driveway, then I drove across town to her building. The doorman let me up without question. I told him I was her cousin visiting from out of state. He smiled and pointed me to the elevator. My heart was pounding when I knocked on her door. I did not know what to expect. Part of me imagined some glamorous seductress, the kind of woman who steals husbands without remorse. But when the door opened, I saw something different. She was young, 29, but she looked younger. Natural hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, minimal makeup, wearing leggings and an oversized sweater. She looked comfortable, at home, like a woman who had no idea her life was about to shatter. "Can I help you?" she asked. "My name is Denise Carter," I said. "Vincent Carter is my husband, and before you close this door, you need to hear what I have to say, because your freedom depends on it." She stared at me, confusion first, then denial, then fear. "That is not possible," she whispered. "He is divorced. He showed me papers. He forged those papers. We are still legally married, and I am not here to fight. I am here to save your life." She did not close the door. That was something. "May I come in?" Long pause. Then she stepped aside. The apartment was nice, tastefully decorated, comfortable furniture, photographs on the walls, photographs of her and Vincent, smiling, holding hands, looking at each other with love. I used to have photographs like that. "Sit down," I said gently. "This is going to take a while." She sat on the couch. I took the chair across from her. Then I told her everything. I told her about our marriage, 8 years, the gaslighting, the way he made me doubt my own mind. I told her about the financial crimes, the Ponzi scheme, the 47 victims, the millions of dollars stolen from elderly people in our community. I told her about his escape plan, the offshore accounts, the fake passport, the one-way tickets to a country where he could not be extradited. I told her about the crimes being run through her apartment, the meetings he held here, the documents stored here, the fact that her name was on the lease, which meant she was legally connected to everything he had done. And I told her about the drugging, the vitamins, the systematic poisoning that he had used to keep me confused and compliant for 2 years. By the time I finished, she was crying, silently, tears streaming down her face. "I am pregnant," she finally said. "I was going to tell him this week." "I know," I said softly. "I found the receipt." She looked at me with devastation in her eyes. How could he? How could he do all of this? He told me he loved me. He told me we were going to build a life together. He told me the same things I said. He is very good at telling people what they want to hear. That is how he operates. That is how he gains trust. And then he exploits it. She shook her head. The apartment, the meetings. I thought they were business investors. He told me they were clients interested in his consulting firm. They were victims. He was taking their money. Right here in your living room. She covered her face with her hands. "Oh, God. Oh, my God." I gave her a moment. Let her process. This was a lot to take in. "Keandra," I said finally, "I am not here to blame you. I truly believe you did not know. But you need to understand what happens next." "What happens next?" "The FBI is building a case against Vincent. When they move, they will raid this apartment. Everything here will be evidence. And unless you cooperate, unless you can prove you were not a willing participant, you could face charges too." She looked up at me, terrified. "I cannot go to prison. I am having a baby. That is why I am here. If you work with us, if you tell them everything you know, you will be treated as a witness, not a defendant. But you have to be honest. You have to tell them about every meeting that happened here, everyone who came through that door, everything Vincent ever told you about his business." She was quiet for a long moment, processing, deciding. Then she asked a question I did not expect. "Why are you doing this? Why did you come here yourself? You could hate me." I thought about it. "I did hate you," I admitted. "When I first found out, I hated you more than I have ever hated anyone. But then I realized something. What you did not know. He lied to you just like he lied to me. You fell in love with a character he created, not the man he really is. That makes you a victim, not a villain." I stood up. "And besides, there is a baby coming. That baby does not deserve to start life with a mother in prison. That baby deserves a chance. You deserve a chance. Vincent is the only one who deserves to pay." She wiped her tears. "What do I do?" "First, you do nothing. Keep acting normal. Do not let him suspect anything has changed. Do not pack a bag or start asking questions or do anything that might tip him off." "For how long?" "A few more weeks, maybe less. The FBI is moving soon. When they do, be ready to tell them everything. And you will help me." I nodded. "I will be there. We will do this together." She looked at me with something that might have been gratitude, or maybe just exhaustion. "I thought I was getting a fairy tale," she said quietly. "I thought I finally found someone who loved me." "I understand that feeling," I said, "better than you know." I left her sitting on that couch, a woman whose entire world had just collapsed around her, a woman who was about to become a single mother with the father of her child in prison. It was not fair. She was innocent in all of this, an unwitting accomplice to crimes she knew nothing about. But at least now she had a chance to cooperate, a chance to build a life for herself and her baby without a con man dragging her down. More than Vincent would have given her, more than he gave any of us. The FBI building in downtown Baltimore was nothing like I expected. I had pictured something dramatic, all glass and steel and serious people in dark suits. Instead, it looked like any other government office. Fluorescent lights, bland walls, coffee-stained carpet. But the woman waiting for us was exactly what I hoped for. Detective Angela Brooks was in her early 40s, sharp eyes, natural hair cut short, the kind of posture that said she had earned every bit of respect she commanded. Marcus had worked with her before, said she was one of the good ones, tough but fair, smart enough to build cases that stuck. "Mrs. Carter," she said, shaking my hand, "thank you for coming in. I have reviewed the materials your team provided. Impressive work." I sat down across from her. Marcus was beside me. Monique had wanted to come too, but we decided to keep this meeting small. Detective Brooks spread my documents across the conference table. The bank records, the shell company registrations, the victim lists, The photographs. You built a stronger case in 2 weeks than some of my investigators built in 2 years, she said. I am not sure whether to be impressed or concerned about what kind of training accountants are getting these days. I almost smiled. Almost. It is what I do, I said. Track money, find discrepancies, expose what people try to hide. Well, you exposed plenty. She picked up a stack of pages. 47 confirmed victims. Total stolen funds exceeding $2.3 million. Wire fraud, money laundering, financial exploitation of the elderly. This is exactly the kind of case we prioritize. So you can prosecute. We can do more than prosecute, she said. We can put him away for decades. But there are complications. What kind of complications? Your husband is smart. The offshore accounts, the fake passport, the escape timeline. He is clearly planning to run. If he suspects we are on to him, he will accelerate that timeline and disappear before we can move. That is why we have been careful, Marcus said. Denise has been living in that house for weeks gathering evidence without raising suspicion. Detective Brooks nodded. That takes courage. Most victims in your position would have confronted him immediately, or packed their bags and run. I thought about running, I admitted, every single day. But I knew if I did, he would get away with it. He would take the money and disappear, and all those people would never see justice. That is exactly the mindset we need. Detective Brooks leaned forward. Mrs. Carter, I'm going to be honest with you. We can build this case with the evidence you have already provided. It is solid. But if you are willing to help us a little more, we can make it airtight. What do you need? We need to catch him in the act. One more transaction. One more victim taking the bait. And we need it on tape. She pulled out a photograph. An older woman, elegant, well-dressed. This is Special Agent Martha Coleman. She has been working financial crimes for 22 years. She is going to play a role for us. What role? A wealthy widow interested in investing her inheritance. $150,000 looking for guaranteed returns. Detective Brooks smiled grimly. We are going to dangle bait that your husband cannot resist. And when he takes it, we will have him on camera, on audio, and in possession of marked bills. That is entrapment, I said. No, entrapment is when we pressure someone into committing a crime they would not otherwise commit. Your husband has been committing this exact crime for years. We are just giving him one more opportunity to do what he already does. Marcus spoke up. What is the timeline? We need about a week to set up the operation, get our agent in position, create a backstory that will hold up, make sure Vincent takes the bait. He looked at me. Denise will need to stay in the house during that time, maintain normal behavior, make sure he does not suspect anything. I can do that, I said. What happens after? After Detective Brooks gathered the documents, after we execute simultaneous warrants, the house, his office, Keandra Mills' apartment, any storage facilities connected to him. We arrest him, we seize the assets, and we spend the next several months preparing for trial. She looked at me with something like compassion. I know this has been incredibly difficult, living with someone you know is a criminal, pretending everything is fine when you want to scream. But what you are doing matters, not just for you but for every person on this list. She tapped the victim files. Most of these people will never get all their money back. The offshore accounts are complicated to access, but they will get something. Restitution from seized assets. And more importantly, they will get justice. They will see the man who stole from them in handcuffs. That is what keeps them going after something like this, knowing that he paid for what he did. I thought about Mrs. Dorothy Patterson, who gave her husband's pension to a con man, about Deacon Monroe and his wife, who lost their grandchildren's college fund, about Carolyn Webb, Marcus's mother, who lost everything. They trusted Vincent, trusted him because he looked like them, talked like them, worshipped with them, and he betrayed that trust in the worst possible way. One more week, I said. I can do one more week. Good. Detective Brooks stood up. Stay in contact with Marcus. He will relay any updates. And Mrs. Carter, yes, you should be proud of yourself. What you have done here, the courage it took, the discipline that is not common. Most people crumble under this kind of pressure. You built a case. I stood up, shook her hand. I did not have a choice, I said. He was going to destroy me either way. At least this way I get to fight back. She smiled. That is exactly the attitude we need. We walked out of the FBI building into the afternoon sunlight. Marcus was quiet as we walked to the parking garage. "You okay?" he finally asked. I thought about it. "I will be," I said, "when this is over. When I can walk out of that house and never go back. When I can sleep without wondering what he is planning. When I can finally breathe." "Soon," Marcus said. "1 more week, then you are free." I got in my car, sat there for a moment, letting it sink in. 1 more week of pretending. 1 more week of smiling at the man who had tortured me for 8 years. And then it would be done. Vincent Carter was going to learn what happens when you underestimate the wrong woman, and I was going to be there to watch. The last week was the longest of my life. Every day felt like a year, every moment stretched out into eternity. I would wake up in the morning and think just 6 more days, just 5 more days, just 4 more days. But those days had to look normal, completely, utterly normal. I made breakfast, went to work, came home, cooked dinner, sat across from Vincent and asked about his day like I actually cared about his lies. And at night, I lay next to him in the darkness, listening to him breathe, counting the hours until I would never have to pretend again. Vincent had no idea. He was too focused on his next move to notice anything different about me. The FBI agent, Martha Coleman, had made contact with him through a mutual connection at his church, an elderly woman with money to invest, the kind of target he could not resist. I watched him prepare for that meeting like a predator preparing for a kill. He pressed his best suit, practiced his pitch in the mirror, gathered his fake materials, his glossy brochures, his testimonials from satisfied investors who did not exist. He was excited. I could see it in his eyes. $150,000. That was enough to accelerate his timeline, enough to push up those plane tickets to the Caymans. He probably thought he was getting closer to freedom. He had no idea he was walking into a trap. During that final week, my sister circle kept me sane. Every night after Vincent fell asleep, I would text the group chat, check in, get encouragement. Patricia would remind me that my strength was inspiring. Yolanda would tell me that justice was coming and I just had to hold on a little longer. Monique would walk me through what would happen legally step by step so there were no surprises. And Mama would pray for me. Every night she told me she was on her knees asking God to protect her baby, to give me strength, to bring me home safely when this was all over. I held on to those prayers like a lifeline. Marcus checked in daily, quick calls, secure lines, just enough to let me know the operation was on track. Agent Coleman had 2 meetings with Vincent, played her role perfectly. A wealthy widow recently lost her husband looking for someone trustworthy to help her invest his life insurance payout. Vincent was charming. Of course he was. That is what he does. He told her about his track record, his satisfied clients, his guaranteed returns, all lies, all recorded. The final meeting was scheduled for Thursday afternoon. That was when she would write the check, when the marked bills would change hands, when they would have everything they needed to take him down. Thursday morning, I woke up before the alarm. Vincent was already awake, already dressed, already buzzing with energy. "Big day today," he said, adjusting his tie in the mirror. "Got a major client coming in. This could be the one that changes everything." I looked at him. This man I had married. This man I had loved. This man who had systematically destroyed my mind, my relationships, my sense of self. He had no idea it was the last time he would stand in our bedroom, the last time he would look in that mirror, the last morning of his life as a free man. "Good luck," I said. "I hope it goes well." He smiled that charming smile, kissed me on the forehead. "Thanks, baby. I will see you tonight. Maybe we will celebrate." "Maybe," I said. I watched him walk out of the bedroom, listened to his footsteps on the stairs, heard the garage door open and close. Then I sat on the edge of the bed and let out a breath I had been holding for 8 years. It was almost over. The waiting was the hardest part. I went to work, tried to focus on spreadsheets and reports, but my mind was across town in Vincent's office watching the sting unfold. Around 2 in the afternoon, my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus, meeting in progress, everything going according to plan. I stared at those words, read them 3 times. At 2:45, another text, check received, bills marked and traced. Moving to arrest. My hands were shaking. I closed my office door, sat in my chair and tried to breathe. At 3:15, the final text. It is done. He is in custody. I did not cry. I thought I would, but I did not. Instead, I felt something I had not felt in almost a decade. Silence. The constant noise in my head, the anxiety, the fear, the second-guessing, it all went quiet. He was gone. He could not hurt me anymore. I packed up my things slowly, told my boss I had a family emergency, drove to the FBI field office where Detective Brooks was waiting. When I walked in, she was smiling. "We got him," she said. "Clean arrest. No complications. He is being processed right now." I nodded, sat down because my legs felt weak. She sat across from me. He did not even realize what was happening at first. Thought the agents coming through the door were there for someone else. It took him almost 30 seconds to understand. And then he asked for a lawyer. And he asked for you. For me, he wanted to call his wife, said you would clear everything up, said this was all a misunderstanding. I almost laughed. After everything he had done, he still thought I was on his side, still thought I would cover for him, still thought he had me fooled. "Do you want to see him?" Detective Brooks asked. I thought about it. For a long moment. "Not yet," I said. "I am not ready yet." She nodded. "That is understandable. There will be time later if you change your mind. What happens now?" "Now we process him. Arraignment will be tomorrow morning. Given the scope of the charges and the evidence of flight risk, he will not get bail. Then it is a matter of building the case for trial. And me, you go home, you rest, you start rebuilding your life." She reached across the table and touched my hand. "You did good, Mrs. Carter. You survived something most people cannot even imagine. And you did more than survive. You fought back. You won." I looked at her, this woman who had dedicated her career to catching predators like Vincent. "Thank you," I said, "for believing me, for taking this seriously, for making sure he pays. That is my job." She smiled. "But between you and me, this case was personal. I have seen too many men like your husband walk free because their victims were too scared or too broken to fight. You were neither, and because of that, 47 families are going to get justice." I stood up, shook her hand. Then I walked out of the FBI building and into the evening light. For the first time in 8 years, I was free. No more pretending, no more lies, no more looking over my shoulder or doubting my own mind. The fog had lifted. The cage was open. The nightmare was over. I got in my car, sat there for a moment, let it all sink in. Then I called my mama. "It is done," I said when she answered. "He is in custody. It is really over." She was crying, thanking God, telling me to come home. "I am on my way," I said. "I am finally coming home." I drove through the city as the sun set, watched the lights come on in office buildings and apartments. Normal people living normal lives. That was what I wanted now. Something normal, something quiet, something real. Vincent Carter had taken 8 years of my life, had stolen my confidence, my relationships, my trust in my own mind. But he did not break me. He tried. Lord knows he tried, but I was still standing. And now it was time to see what happened when he faced the consequences of his choices. Now it was time for justice. 3 days after Vincent was arrested, I walked into the FBI field office to see him. I had not planned to do this. When Detective Brooks first offered, I said no. I was not ready. The wounds were too fresh. The anger was too raw. But then I started thinking about all the things I never got to say, all the questions that had been burning in my chest for 8 years, all the words I had swallowed because I was too confused, too scared, too convinced that I was the crazy one. I needed to look him in the eye. I needed him to know that I knew everything, and I needed to say goodbye to the man I thought I married so I could finally move on. Marcus offered to come with me. So did Patricia. I said no to both of them. This was something I had to do alone. They brought him into the interrogation room in an orange jumpsuit. Handcuffs, shackles on his ankles. 3 days in jail had already changed him. The suit was gone. The charming smile was gone. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. When he saw me, something flickered in his eyes. Hope, maybe, or calculation. Even now, even caught, he was still trying to figure out an angle. "Denise," he said. "Baby, thank God you are here. This is all a misunderstanding. You have to tell them. You know me. You know I would never do these things they are accusing me of." I sat down across from him, looked at his face, the face I had loved for 10 years, the face that had lied to me every single day. I did not say anything, just let him talk. "Baby, please." He leaned forward as much as the chains would allow. "They have it all wrong. Those investment returns were real. My clients were happy. This is just a competitor trying to take me down. You have to believe me." Still, I said nothing. His expression shifted, a flash of frustration. "Denise, say something. Why are you just sitting there? Do you not understand what is happening? I need your help. I need you to tell them the truth." I tilted my head. "Which truth, Vincent? The truth about the 47 people you stole from, the truth about Keandra and the apartment across town, the truth about the fake passport and the tickets to the Cayman Islands." His face went pale. "Or maybe you mean the truth about the vitamins, the ones you told me were good for my health, the ones that were actually drugging me for 2 years. He opened his mouth, closed it. For the first time since I had known him, Vincent Carter had nothing to say. I leaned forward. "You want to know something funny? All those years you spent making me think I was crazy, making me doubt my own memories, making me feel like I was losing my mind. And the whole time I was right. My instincts were right. Something was wrong. You were wrong." I stood up, walked slowly around the table until I was standing right beside him. "You thought you were so smart, thought you had everyone fooled, your clients, your mistress, your wife, but you made one mistake, Vincent. One fatal error." I leaned down until my face was inches from his. "You married an accountant." He flinched, actually flinched. This man who had towered over me for years, who had made me feel small and stupid and worthless, he flinched away from me. I found everything I continued, every shell company, every offshore account, every victim you stole from, every email you sent to your girlfriend, every document in your escape plan. I straightened up. "The FBI did not catch you, Vincent. I did. I built the case that put you in this room. I gathered the evidence that is going to send you to prison for the rest of your life." He was shaking now. The mask was completely gone. "Why," he whispered, "why would you do this to me?" I stared at him. This man I had shared a bed with for 8 years. This man I had cooked for, cleaned for, paid for. This man who had systematically destroyed my life while pretending to love me. "Why," I repeated. "Because you hurt me. You hurt me in ways I am still discovering. You made me doubt my own sanity. You stole years of my life. You isolated me from everyone who loved me. And that was just what you did to me. You also stole from people who trusted you. Elderly people, church people, people who gave you their life savings because you looked them in the eye and lied. Mrs. Patterson, who gave you her husband's pension. Deacon Monroe, who gave you his grandchildren's college fund. Carolyn Webb, who gave you everything she had. You destroyed lives, Vincent, dozens of them. And you were going to walk away without consequences, going to disappear to some beach with your girlfriend and your stolen millions while all of us suffered. So why did I do this?" I leaned close one more time. "Because somebody had to stop you. And it turned out that somebody was me." I walked toward the door, stopped with my hand on the handle. "One more thing. Keandra is cooperating with the FBI. She knows everything now. About me. About the crimes. About the fact that you were never going to marry her." I looked back at him. "Oh, and she is pregnant. 4 months. So congratulations, Vincent. You are going to be a father. From prison." The sound that came out of him was something between a sob and a scream. I walked out and did not look back. In the hallway, Detective Brooks was waiting. "How do you feel?" she asked. I thought about it. "Lighter," I said, "like I just set down something I have been carrying for 8 years. She nodded. "That is closure. It does not fix everything, but it helps." We walked out together into the sunlight. Behind me, I could hear Vincent screaming my name, begging me to come back, promising he could explain everything. I did not turn around. That chapter of my life was over. It was time to start a new one. The trial started 3 months later. 3 months of preparation. 3 months of depositions and evidence reviews and strategy sessions. 3 months of healing slowly, painfully, one day at a time. I moved out of that house the week after Vincent was arrested. Could not stand to be there anymore. Every room held memories I wanted to forget. Every corner reminded me of the lies. I stayed with Mama for a few weeks, let her feed me, let her hold me while I cried, let her remind me who I was before Vincent Carter tried to erase me. Then I found a small apartment on the other side of town. Nothing fancy. 1 bedroom, a kitchen with a window that looked out on a little garden. It was quiet, and it was mine, and that was all I needed. The trial was held at the federal courthouse downtown. Big stone building with columns out front. The kind of place that makes you feel small when you walk in. But I did not feel small that day. I walked in with my head high and my sister circled beside me. Patricia on my left, Yolanda on my right, Monique and Mama right behind us. Marcus was there too, sitting in the back row with his mother Carolyn, 2 of Vincent's victims who had become 2 of my closest allies. The courtroom was packed, news cameras outside, reporters in the gallery. This case had gotten attention. A charming con man who stole millions from elderly church members. It was the kind of story that made headlines. Vincent was brought in through a side door, orange jumpsuit replaced by a dark suit. His lawyer must have insisted on that. Try to make him look respectable for the jury. But I could see the difference, the weight he had lost, the hollow look in his eyes. 3 months in jail awaiting trial had taken something out of him. Good. The prosecution went first. Assistant U.S. Attorney Denise Williams. Yes, we shared a first name. She was sharp, methodical. The kind of lawyer who builds cases brick by brick until the wall is too high to climb over. She laid out the charges. Wire fraud, money laundering, financial exploitation of the elderly, attempted poisoning, 23 separate counts in total. She walked the jury through the evidence, the bank records, the shell companies, the offshore accounts, the victim testimonies, and she played the recordings, the undercover sting operation, Vincent's own voice promising guaranteed returns, taking marked bills lying through his teeth. The jury watched him. I watched them watching him, their faces shifting from curiosity to confusion to disgust. This was not a complicated case. The evidence was overwhelming. Vincent's lawyer tried to object, tried to create doubt, but there was too much. Too many documents, too many witnesses, too much proof. Then came the part I had been dreading. The prosecution called me to the stand. I had known this was coming, had prepared for it with the attorneys, had practiced my testimony until I could recite it in my sleep. But walking up to that witness box, raising my right hand, swearing to tell the truth, that was different. That was real. I sat down, looked out at the courtroom, at the jury, at my family, at Marcus and his mother, and at Vincent. He was staring at me. Those eyes that used to make me feel loved, now they just made me feel cold. The prosecutor started with basic questions. How long had I been married to Vincent? What did I know about his business? When did I first suspect something was wrong? I answered carefully, clearly, keeping my voice steady. Then she asked about the gaslighting. Mrs. Carter, can you describe for the jury how the defendant made you doubt your own perceptions? I took a breath. It started small, I said. He would tell me things that I knew had not happened, conversations we never had, plans I never agreed to. At first I thought I was just stressed, forgetful, working too hard. But it got worse. He would move things around the house and deny it when I noticed. He would say I told him something I never said. He would look me in the eye and lie with such confidence that I started to wonder if I was losing my mind. I looked at the jury. There is a term for this. Gaslighting. It is a form of psychological abuse. The abuser makes the victim question their own reality until they do not trust themselves anymore, until they depend entirely on the abuser to tell them what is true. That is what he did to me. For 8 years, he made me so confused, so unsure of my own thoughts that I stopped trusting my instincts, even when those instincts were screaming that something was wrong. The courtroom was silent. And what about the vitamins, the prosecutor asked. I described how Vincent had started giving me supplements, how he said they were for my health, how I took them every morning for 2 years without question. Laboratory analysis showed that those vitamins contained benzodiazepine and antihistamines, the prosecutor said. What effect did those substances have on you? I felt my voice shake for the first time. They made me foggy, confused. My memory got worse. My concentration suffered. I had headaches and insomnia and anxiety that I could not explain. I thought something was wrong with me. I thought I was sick, maybe even dying. But it was him. The whole time it was him, poisoning me, keeping me too confused to see what he was really doing. The jury looked horrified. One woman in the front row had tears in her eyes. I glanced at Vincent. He was not looking at me anymore. He was staring at the table in front of him, jaw clenched. The prosecutor asked me about discovering the affair, about finding the evidence, about building the case with Marcus Webb. And then came the question I had been waiting for. Mrs. Carter, why did you not simply leave when you discovered the truth? Why go through the effort of building a criminal case? I thought about my answer. This was the moment. Because leaving was not enough, I said. If I had just left, he would have gotten away with it. He would have disappeared with the money. All those people he stole from would never have seen justice. I looked at the jury. But more than that, he spent 8 years making me feel like I was nothing, like I was crazy, like I did not deserve to trust my own mind. Building that case, gathering that evidence, using my skills to expose him for what he really was. That was how I took back my power. That was how I proved to myself that I was not crazy, that I never was. The prosecutor nodded. No further questions. Vincent's lawyer stood up for cross-examination. Tried to paint me as a bitter wife seeking revenge. Tried to suggest I had misunderstood innocent business transactions. I answered every question calmly, factually. I had the evidence on my side. There was nothing he could say to change that. When I stepped down from the witness stand, I felt something I had not felt in years. Pride. I had faced him. I had told my truth, and nothing he could do would ever take that away from me. The hardest part of the trial was not my own testimony. It was listening to the victims. 47 people, 47 stories, 47 lives that Vincent had shattered. The prosecution did not call all of them. That would have taken weeks. But they called enough. Enough to show the jury the full scope of what he had done. Enough to put faces to the numbers. Enough to make it real. Mrs. Dorothy Patterson was the first. She was 72 years old. Retired schoolteacher, worked for 40 years in Baltimore public schools teaching 3rd grade. She walked with a cane, now her steps slow and careful. When she took the witness stand, she looked so small, so fragile. The kind of woman who should be at home with her grandchildren, not in a federal courtroom, testifying against the man who had stolen her future. The prosecutor asked her to describe how she met Vincent. "At my church," Mrs. Patterson said. Her voice was soft but steady. "Mount Zion Baptist. He started coming to services about 5 years ago. Nice young man. Always dressed well. Always had a kind word for everyone." She paused. "He reminded me of my late husband. Same charm, same smile, same way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room." The prosecutor nodded. "And how did he approach you about investing?" "He said he wanted to help the community. Said he had seen too many of our people struggle in retirement because we did not have access to good financial advice. He wanted to change that, wanted to help us build generational wealth." She shook her head. "I believed him. We all believed him. How much did you invest with the defendant? $85,000. Everything I had. My pension. My late husband's life insurance. 30 years of savings." The courtroom was silent. "And what happened to that money?" Mrs. Patterson looked directly at Vincent. "Gone. All of it. He sent me statements showing my account was growing. 12% returns. 15%. I thought I was going to be able to leave something for my grandchildren. Then the FBI came, told me it was all fake, told me the money had been moved offshore, told me I would probably never see it again." Her voice cracked. "I am 72 years old. I cannot go back to work. I cannot earn that money again. I had to sell my house, move in with my daughter." She wiped her eyes. "I worked my whole life, saved everything I could, did everything right. And he took it all in one handshake, one smile, one lie. I was crying. I could not help it. Looking at this woman who had given her life to teaching children, now broke because she trusted the wrong person. Other victims followed. Deacon James Monroe and his wife Evelyn, both in their 70s. They had given Vincent $42,000, money they had been saving for their grandchildren's college education. "Those children still ask us about their college fund," Evelyn said through tears. "We have to tell them it is gone. We have to explain that Grandma and Grandpa made a mistake, that we trusted someone we should not have trusted. We cannot even look them in the eye anymore. We feel so ashamed." A man named Robert Williams, 68, retired postal worker, gave Vincent $30,000, his entire retirement account. "I thought I was being smart," Robert said. "Thought I was finally going to make my money work for me. My wife was sick. Medical bills. I thought if I could just grow our savings a little bit, we would be okay." He looked at Vincent with pure hatred. "My wife died last year, in a hospital. We could not afford the treatment that might have saved her. Because our money was gone, he took it. He took everything, story after story, pain after pain. A widow who lost $50,000, a retired minister who lost $60,000, a grandmother who lost her house. And through it all, Vincent sat at the defense table with his head bowed, not looking at anyone, not acknowledging the destruction he had caused. I watched the jury, watched their faces harden with each testimony. Whatever sympathy they might have had for Vincent at the beginning of this trial was gone now, replaced by disgust, by anger. These were not abstract numbers on a spreadsheet. These were people, human beings who had worked their whole lives, saved what they could, and trusted the wrong person. The last victim to testify was Carolyn Webb, Marcus's mother. She walked to the stand with quiet dignity, 74 years old, silver hair, back straight despite her age. She had raised 5 children on her own after her husband died, had worked 2 jobs to make sure they all got through school. Marcus was watching from the gallery. I could see his jaw clenched, his hands gripping the bench in front of him. "Mrs. Webb," the prosecutor said, "can you tell the jury how you came to invest with the defendant? My pastor recommended him," Carolyn said. Carolyn said there was a young man in the community who was helping people like us, people who had saved all our lives but never had anyone to help us grow that money. She folded her hands in her lap. "I met with Vincent 3 times before I invested. He was so patient, so kind, explained everything in terms I could understand, made me feel like I was finally making a smart decision." She looked at the jury. "I gave him $45,000, everything I had saved in 50 years of working. I thought I was securing my future. I thought I was doing something good for my children and grandchildren. What happened when you learned the truth? I did not believe it at first. I called the number on his business card. Disconnected. I went to his office. Empty. I called him over and over. No answer." Her voice wavered but did not break. "I had to move out of my apartment. Could not afford the rent anymore. I live with my son now. Marcus. He took me in without a second thought." She looked at the gallery where Marcus sat. "I raised that boy to be strong, to do the right thing, to protect people who cannot protect themselves. When he found out what Vincent did to me, he did not rest until justice was done." She turned back to the prosecutor. "I am 74 years old. I do not have many years left, and I will spend all of them knowing that a man I trusted, a man who called me sister and prayed next to me in church, stole everything I worked for." She finally looked at Vincent. "You did not just take my money. You took my dignity, my independence, my faith in people. But you did not take my spirit, and you did not take the love of my family. I will die broke, but I will die surrounded by people who love me, people who are honest and kind and good. Can you say the same?" Vincent did not answer, did not look up, did not move. The prosecutor let the silence hang. "No further questions," she finally said. As Carolyn Webb stepped down from the witness stand, she walked past the defense table. She stopped. "Just for a moment. I forgive you," she said quietly. "Not for your sake, for mine. I will not carry the weight of hating you. That is too heavy a burden for an old woman." Then she continued walking, out of the courtroom, head held high. The jury was crying. Half the gallery was crying. I was crying. and for the first time I saw something in Vincent's face that I had never seen before. Shame. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. That is what they told us. Less than 4 hours to review all the evidence, discuss the case, and reach a verdict on 23 separate counts. When the bailiff came out to tell us the jury was ready, my heart stopped. This was it, the moment everything had been building toward. We filed back into the courtroom. Everyone took their seats. The gallery was packed. Victims in the front rows, reporters in the back. My family around me like a protective wall. Vincent was brought in last. He looked different, smaller, like the fight had finally gone out of him. His lawyer had done what he could, tried to argue that Vincent was a businessman who made bad decisions, not a criminal. Tried to suggest the victims should have known better than to invest their life savings with someone they met at church. But the evidence was too strong. The testimonies were too powerful. There was no way to spin 47 destroyed lives into a simple misunderstanding. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Has the jury reached a verdict? The judge asked. The foreperson stood up, a middle-aged black woman with reading glasses and an expression that gave nothing away. We have, Your Honor. The bailiff took the verdict form, handed it to the judge. The judge read it silently, face impassive. Then he handed it back. The defendant will rise. Vincent stood, his lawyer beside him, both of them facing the jury. My hands were shaking. Patricia grabbed one. Yolanda grabbed the other. On count 1 wire fraud, the foreperson read, "We, the jury, find the defendant, Vincent Marcus Carter, guilty." The courtroom stirred. But it was not over. On count 2 wire fraud, guilty. On count 3 wire fraud, guilty. Count after count, guilty, guilty, guilty. Money laundering, guilty. Financial exploitation of the elderly, guilty. Attempted poisoning, guilty. 23 counts. 23 times the word guilty echoed through that courtroom. By the end, Vincent was swaying on his feet. His lawyer had to grab his arm to keep him upright. The judge thanked the jury and dismissed them. Then he turned to Vincent. "Mr. Carter, you have been found guilty on all counts. Sentencing will take place in 6 weeks. Until then, you will remain in federal custody." He banged his gavel. "Court is adjourned." The courtroom erupted. Victims crying, hugging each other. Reporters rushing out to file their stories. My family surrounding me, tears streaming down all our faces. We did it. We actually did it. I looked across the courtroom at Vincent being led away in handcuffs. He turned his head. Our eyes met for just a moment. I do not know what he saw in my face. Relief, maybe, or vindication, or just the quiet satisfaction of watching justice finally being served. Then he was gone, through the side door, back to his cell. I would see him one more time, at sentencing, but that moment in the courtroom that was our real goodbye. Outside the courthouse the sun was shining, bright and warm and beautiful. The victims gathered on the steps, hugging each other, crying, laughing, finally able to exhale. Mrs. Patterson came up to me, took my hands in hers. "Thank you," she said. "I know you went through your own hell with that man, but you did not have to fight for us, too. You did not have to build this case. You could have just walked away." I shook my head. "No," I said. "I could not have. Walking away was never an option, not after what he did, not after what I saw." She hugged me. This woman I had never met before the trial, who had suffered just like me at the hands of the same man. "You are a blessing," she whispered. "Do not ever let anyone tell you different." Marcus found me in the crowd, his mother beside him. "How do you feel?" he asked. I thought about it. "Like I can finally breathe," I said. "Like the weight I have been carrying for 8 years just lifted off my shoulders." Carolyn took my hand. "What you did," she said. "The courage it took. I want you to know that you did not just save yourself. You saved all of us, gave us closure we never thought we would have. We stood there together, 3 people whose lives had been shattered by the same man. 3 people who had come together to stop him. It was not a happy ending. Not exactly. Too much had been lost. Too much damage had been done. But it was justice. And sometimes, justice is the best you can hope for." 6 weeks later, I was back in that courtroom for sentencing. The judge had reviewed everything. The evidence, the victim impact statements, the pre-sentencing report. He looked at Vincent for a long moment before he spoke. "Mr. Carter, you have been convicted of some of the most despicable crimes I have seen in my 30 years on the bench. You preyed on the vulnerable. You exploited their trust. You stole not just their money but their dignity, their security, their peace of mind." He shook his head. "You targeted elderly members of your own community, people who welcomed you into their churches, their homes, their lives, and you betrayed them in the most cynical way possible. I have read the victim impact statements. I have heard the testimony. I have seen the devastation you caused, and I have struggled to understand how any human being could do what you did without remorse." He straightened the papers in front of him. "The prosecution has recommended the maximum sentence. Having reviewed all the evidence, I am inclined to agree. Vincent Marcus Carter, I hereby sentence you to 23 years in federal prison. You will serve a minimum of 20 years before becoming eligible for parole. 23 years. I let that number sink in. Vincent would be 65 years old before he could even apply for parole. By then, most of his victims would be gone. His youth would be gone. His life as he knew it would be over. In addition, the judge continued, you are ordered to pay full restitution to all victims in the amount of $2.34 million. This amount will be recovered from seized assets and ongoing garnishment of any future earnings. You are permanently barred from the financial services industry. You may never again hold any position that involves handling other people's money." He looked at Vincent one final time. "You had every advantage. Education, intelligence, charm. You could have built a legitimate career. Instead, you chose to destroy lives. I hope you spend every day of the next 23 years thinking about the people you hurt, the dreams you shattered, the trust you betrayed." He banged his gavel. "This court is adjourned." As they led Vincent away, I watched him go. This man I had married, this man I had loved, this man who had tried to destroy me. 23 years. It would not bring back the money that was lost. It would not undo the trauma. It would not heal all the wounds. But it was something. It was justice. And justice, as I had learned, is its own kind of freedom. The weeks after sentencing were strange. For so long my entire life had been consumed by Vincent. First by the marriage, then by the abuse, then by the investigation, the trial, the verdict. And suddenly it was over. No more court dates, no more strategy sessions, no more evidence to gather or testimonies to prepare, just silence, and the long, slow work of putting myself back together. I stayed in my little apartment, the one with the window that looked out on the garden. Some days I would just sit there for hours, watching the light change, letting my mind be still. It was the first time in 8 years that I had been truly alone with my own thoughts. And those thoughts were not poisoned anymore, not clouded by drugs, not twisted by gaslighting, just me, clear, present, real. Patricia came over every Sunday, brought food, checked my blood pressure, made sure I was taking care of myself. "You are looking better," she said one afternoon about a month after the trial. "Your color is coming back. Your eyes are brighter." "I feel better," I admitted, like I am finally waking up from a nightmare. "That is exactly what it is." She squeezed my hand. "You were living in a nightmare for 8 years, and now you are free." Free. That word felt strange in my mouth. I had to keep reminding myself it was true. Vincent was in prison. The divorce was final. The house was sold, and after paying lawyers and settling debts, I had enough to start over. Not rich, but stable, secure. More importantly, I had my mind back. The fog that had clouded my thinking for 2 years was completely gone now. My memory was sharp. My concentration was focused. I could trust my own perceptions again. That was worth more than any amount of money. Mama wanted me to move back home. "Come stay with me, baby," she kept saying. "Let me take care of you for a while." But I needed to prove to myself that I could stand on my own, that Vincent had not taken that from me. So I stayed in my apartment, got a new job at a different firm. Smaller company, better hours, less stress. They did not know about the trial, about my past, about any of it. To them, I was just Denise Carter, senior accountant, quiet and competent and professional. I liked that anonymity, liked being judged on my work instead of my story, but I was not hiding either. When people asked about my past, I told them, simply, Honestly, I was married to a man who turned out to be a con artist. I helped put him in prison. Now I am rebuilding my life." Most people did not know what to say to that, but a few understood. A few had their own stories of surviving difficult things. Those were the people I started to let in. The sister circle became my lifeline. Every Thursday night we gathered at Rochelle's house. Patricia, Yolanda, Monique, Rochelle, and me. We called it therapy without the copay. Sometimes we talked about serious things, trauma, healing, how to trust again after being betrayed. Sometimes we just laughed, drank wine, watched bad reality TV, and made fun of the ridiculous people on screen. Both were healing in their own way. One night, about 2 months after the trial, Yolanda asked me a question that stopped me cold. "Do you think you will ever get married again?" I did not answer right away. Had to really think about it. "I do not know," I finally said. Part of me wants to say never. Part of me is terrified of ever trusting someone like that again. But another part of me knows that Vincent was not normal. That what he did, the lying, the manipulation, the abuse, that is not what marriage is supposed to be. I looked at my friends. So I guess my answer is maybe. Someday. If I meet someone who earns my trust. If I find someone who loves me without trying to control me. But I am not in any hurry. Right now I am learning to love myself again. That is enough. Monique raised her glass. "That is the healthiest thing I have ever heard you say." We all drank to that. Healing was not linear. There were good days and bad days. Days when I felt strong and whole and ready to take on the world. Days when I could barely get out of bed. Therapy helped. I found a counselor who specialized in trauma. Dr. Angela Morrison. Black woman, mid-50s, no-nonsense approach. She did not let me hide from the hard stuff. Made me look at all the ways Vincent had damaged me, all the ways I had been complicit in my own abuse, by staying by believing, by not trusting myself. "That is not your fault," she would always say. "What he did was calculated, designed. He was a professional manipulator. You are not stupid for falling for it. You are human. But now you have to do the work of undoing what he did, rebuilding your sense of self, learning to trust your instincts again. It is hard work. It is painful work. But it is the only way out." So I did the work, week after week, month after month. And slowly, slowly, I started to feel like myself again. Not the self I was before Vincent. That woman was gone. Too much had happened. I could never go back to being that naive, that trusting, that open. But a new self was emerging, stronger, wiser, more careful but not closed off, more guarded but still capable of connection. A woman who had survived the worst and come out the other side. I liked this new version of myself. She had been forged in fire, and she was not going to break again. 6 months after the trial, I got a phone call I did not expect. It was Keandra. I almost did not answer. We had not spoken since before the trial. She had testified for the prosecution, telling the jury everything she knew about Vincent's operations. Her cooperation had kept her out of prison. But we were not friends. How could we be? She had slept with my husband for 3 years, had believed she was going to marry him, had been carrying his child while I was married to him. Every time I thought about her, I felt a complicated mix of emotions: anger, pity, resentment, understanding. Still, I answered the phone. "Denise," she said. Her voice was tired, worn. "I am sorry to bother you. I did not know who else to call." "What is wrong?" There was a long pause. "The baby came," she said. 3 weeks ago. A girl. I named her Destiny." "Congratulations," I said. Not sure what else to say. She started crying. "I cannot do this. I cannot raise a child alone. I have no money, no family, no one. My parents disowned me when they found out about Vincent. My friends stopped talking to me after the trial. I am all alone, Denise, and I have this baby who needs things I cannot give her. And every time I look at her face, I see him. I close my eyes, tried to harden my heart. This woman was not my responsibility. Her problems were not my problems. But then I thought about that baby, Destiny, an innocent child who had done nothing wrong, who had been born into a mess she did not create. And I thought about the woman who was not so different from me, really. We had both been fooled by the same man, both been used, both been discarded when we were no longer useful. The only difference was that I had been his wife and she had been his mistress, but we were both his victims. "Where are you?" I asked. She gave me an address, a shelter for women and children on the east side of the city. "Stay there," I said. "I am coming." I do not know why I went. Maybe because I understood what it felt like to be alone and terrified. Maybe because I could not stand the thought of another woman being destroyed by Vincent Carter. Or maybe because somewhere in my healing journey I had learned that holding on to anger was like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I was tired of being poisoned. The shelter was a converted church, clean but bare, rows of beds in what used to be the sanctuary, a nursery in the old Sunday school room. Keandra was waiting for me in a small private room they used for meetings. She looked terrible, thin, pale, dark circles under her eyes. The exhaustion of new motherhood mixed with the devastation of having your entire life collapse. In her arms was a tiny bundle wrapped in a pink blanket. Destiny. I sat down across from her, looked at the baby. She was beautiful, perfect little face, tiny fingers curled into fists, sleeping peacefully unaware of the chaos surrounding her birth. "She looks like him," Keandra said quietly. "Same nose, same chin." "She looks like herself," I said. "She is not him. She is just a baby." Keandra started crying again. "I am so sorry," she said, "for everything. I did not know he was married. I swear I did not know. He showed me divorce papers. He told me you were his ex. He told me so many lies." "I know," I said. "He told me lies, too. Different lies, but lies all the same. How do you not hate me?" I thought about it. I did hate you. I admitted, when I first found out, I hated you more than I have ever hated anyone. But then I realized something. You were not the enemy. He was. You did not betray me. He did. You were just another woman who fell for his act. Hating you would not undo what happened. It would just keep me trapped in the past, and I have spent enough time being trapped. She wiped her eyes. "What am I going to do? I have nothing. No job, no home, no family. And I have this baby who depends on me completely." I looked at her, this woman who should have been my enemy, who I should have wanted to see suffer. But all I saw was a scared young mother trying to figure out how to survive. "You are going to start over," I said, "just like I did. It will be hard, harder than anything you have ever done. But it is possible. How one step at a time. First, you need stability, a place to live, a job, childcare. I do not have any of those things. Not yet. But there are resources, programs for single mothers, job training, housing assistance." I pulled out my phone. "I have a friend, Yolanda. She is a social worker. She knows all the systems. She can help you navigate. You would do that for me." "I am not doing it for you," I said honestly. "I am doing it for that baby. She did not choose any of this. She deserves a chance. And I am doing it for myself. Because helping you is part of letting go, part of moving forward, part of proving that Vincent does not get to define how I treat people." Keandra looked at me with something like wonder. "You are not what I expected," she said. "When Vincent talked about you, he made you sound cold, difficult, crazy." I almost laughed. "He made you sound like a gold digger," I said, "a home wrecker, someone who knew exactly what she was doing." She shook her head. "I loved him, stupidly, blindly. I really believed we were going to have a life together." "I know," I said. "That was his gift, making people believe in things that were not real." I reached over and touched the baby's cheek. So soft, so innocent. "But this is real," I said. "This baby is real, and she needs you to get it together. Not for Vincent, not for me, for her." Keandra nodded, held Destiny a little tighter. "I will try," she said. "I will really try." I called Yolanda that night, explained the situation, asked if she could help. "Of course," Yolanda said without hesitation. "That is my job, and besides that, Baby did not do anything wrong. She deserves a fighting chance." Over the next few months, Yolanda worked with Keandra, got her into transitional housing, helped her apply for assistance programs, connected her with job training. I did not become Keandra's friend. That would have been too strange, too complicated. But I checked in occasionally, made sure she was okay, made sure destiny was okay. It was a strange kind of relationship. Two women connected by the worst experience of their lives. Not friends, but not enemies either. Just two survivors trying to find their way forward. And maybe that was enough. 1 year after Vincent was sentenced, I woke up early on a Saturday morning. Not because of anxiety, not because of nightmares, not because my mind would not stop racing with fear and doubt. I woke up because the sun was streaming through my window and I wanted to see it. That might sound small, but for someone who had spent 8 years dreading each morning, dreading what new manipulation or cruelty awaited, waking up with peace in my heart was a miracle. I lay there for a moment just breathing, feeling the warmth of the sunlight on my face, listening to the birds outside my window. I was okay. Not perfect, not completely healed, but okay. And okay was more than I had ever hoped for. I got up, made coffee, sat on my little balcony, and watched the city wake up. So much had changed in a year. My apartment was decorated now, pictures on the walls, plants on the windowsill. A couch I had picked out myself in a color I loved. Everything in that space was mine, chosen by me. For me. My job was going well. I had been promoted twice. My bosses valued my attention to detail, my ability to find discrepancies that others missed. The same skills that had taken down Vincent were now building my career. Funny how that works. My health was the best it had been in a decade. Blood pressure normal, weight stable. I was sleeping through the night, exercising regularly, eating food that nourished me instead of just filling the emptiness. Dr. Morrison said I was one of her success stories. A woman who had done the work, faced the pain, and come out stronger. I did not feel like a success story. I felt like someone who had survived a shipwreck and finally made it to shore. Exhausted and grateful, and still a little in shock that I was alive. But I was alive, and I was free, and that was everything. The Sister Circle was still meeting every Thursday night. We had added 2 new members. Women who had heard about our group through Yolanda and Monique. Women who had their own stories of surviving difficult things. We were becoming something bigger than just friends. We were becoming a network, a support system, a community of women who refused to let their pasts define their futures. I loved those Thursday nights. Loved the laughter and the tears and the brutal honesty. Loved knowing that no matter what happened, I had people who would catch me if I fell. That was something Vincent had tried to take from me. Connection, community, the knowledge that I was not alone. He had failed. Marcus and I stayed in touch, not every day but regularly. He had become a strange but important figure in my life, the man who was hired to destroy me and instead became my ally. His mother was doing better. The restitution payments had started coming in, not enough to replace everything she had lost, but something. Enough to help with expenses, enough to give her back a little of what was taken. More importantly, she had closure. She had seen the man who robbed her face consequences. That mattered more than money. I had started speaking, publicly, about what had happened. It started with a support group for domestic violence survivors. Monique invited me to share my story. I was terrified, but I did it anyway. And something happened when I spoke, something powerful. I saw recognition in the eyes of other women, women who had been gaslit, women who had been made to doubt their own minds, women who thought they were crazy until they realized they were being manipulated. My story helped them understand their own stories, gave them permission to trust themselves, gave them hope that they could escape and survive and rebuild. So I kept speaking. Churches, community centers, support groups, anywhere people would listen. I was not a famous speaker, did not write a book or go on television. But in small rooms with small groups of women who needed to hear that survival was possible, I shared what I had learned. Trust yourself. Your instincts are valid. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Document everything. Evidence is power. Keep records even when you do not know why. Build your team. Find people who believe you, who support you, who will help you fight. And most importantly, do not give up. The road to freedom is long and hard and painful, but it is worth it. Every step, every tear, every moment of doubt, freedom is worth everything. 1 year after Vincent was sentenced, I got a letter. From him. It arrived at my apartment. I do not know how he got my address. Maybe through his lawyer. Maybe through someone on the outside. I almost threw it away without reading it. Almost. But curiosity got the better of me. I needed to know what he had to say. Needed to see if anything had changed. I opened the envelope. Denise, it began. His handwriting was shakier than I remembered, less confident. I have been thinking about everything that happened, about what I did, about who I was. I want you to know that I understand now. I understand that what I did was wrong. Not just illegal, but morally wrong. I hurt people. I hurt you. I am not writing to ask for forgiveness. I do not deserve that. I am writing because I need you to know that I see it now. The damage I caused, the lives I destroyed. Prison has given me time to think. Too much time. And all I can think about is the faces of the people I stole from. The look in your eyes when you came to see me after my arrest. I was a monster, Denise. I told myself I was smart, clever, better than everyone else. But I was just a monster in a nice suit. I do not expect you to write back. I do not expect anything from you. I just needed to say this, to put it in writing, to acknowledge what I did. I hope you are happy now. I hope you have found peace. I hope the rest of your life is everything mine was not. Vincent. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it up and put it in a box with the rest of my evidence. The bank statements, the photographs, the court documents. I did not know if he was sincere, did not know if he had really changed or if this was just another manipulation. And honestly, I did not care. His remorse, if it was real, did not change anything. It did not give Mrs. Patterson her pension back. It did not restore Deacon Monroe's trust. It did not undo 8 years of psychological torture. It was just words. And I had learned the hard way that Vincent's words meant nothing. I closed the box, put it back in my closet. Then I went back to living my life, because that was the real victory. Not his imprisonment, not his remorse, not his suffering. The real victory was that I was free. I was healing. I was building a life that was mine, and he had no power over me anymore. If you are still listening, I have one more thing to say. This story is not about Vincent. It was never about him. Yes, he is the villain. Yes, he did terrible things. Yes, he deserved every year of that 23-year sentence. But this story is not about what he did to me. It is about what I did despite him. I survived. I fought back. I reclaimed my life. And if I can do it, so can you. I do not know who is listening to this. Maybe you are in a good place, happy, healthy, surrounded by people who love you. If that is you, count your blessings. And pay attention. Because someone in your life might need help. A sister, a friend, a coworker who always seems tired and never talks about her husband. The signs are not always obvious. Abusers are good at hiding what they do. Victims are good at covering it up. But if you look closely, you will see the exhaustion that never lifts, the way she flinches at certain topics, the excuses that do not quite add up. If you see those signs, do not look away. Ask questions. Offer support. Let her know she is not alone. Sometimes that is all it takes. One person who believes, one person who sees the truth, one person who says, I am here when you are ready. But maybe you are not in a good place. Maybe you are listening to this and something inside you is recognizing your own story. Maybe you have a partner who makes you doubt yourself, who tells you your memory is wrong, who criticizes everything you do until you do not trust your own judgment anymore. Maybe you have been isolated, cut off from friends and family, made to feel like you are the problem, like everything would be fine if you could just be better. Try harder. Give more. Maybe you are scared, trapped, unable to see a way out. If that is you, I need you to hear me. You are not crazy. You are not imagining things. What is happening to you is real, and you can survive it. I know it does not feel that way. I know it feels like this is your whole world, like you will never escape, like things will never get better. I felt that way too. For 8 years, I was convinced that I was the problem, that I was losing my mind, that there was no way out. But I was wrong. There is always a way out. It might not be easy. It might not be fast. It might be the hardest thing you ever do. But it is possible. Start small. Start by trusting yourself. That voice in your head that says something is wrong. Listen to it. That instinct that tells you this is not normal. It is right. Find one person you can trust. One person you can tell the truth to. That person might be a friend, a family member, a counselor, a hotline volunteer. It does not matter who they are, only that they believe you. Document everything. Keep records. Save texts. Take photographs. You might not know why you need them yet, but someday you might. Make a plan, a safety plan. Know where you would go if you had to leave suddenly. Know who you would call. Know how you would survive those first few days. And when you are ready, when you have your support system in place, when you have your plan figured out, leave. Leave and do not look back. It will be hard, harder than anything you have ever done. There will be days when you want to give up, days when you wonder if you made the right choice, days when you miss the life you had, even though that life was killing you. But keep going, one day at a time, one step at a time, one breath at a time. Because on the other side of that pain is freedom, real freedom. The freedom to think your own thoughts, to trust your own mind, to build a life that is truly yours. I know because I found it. After 8 years of hell, I found it. And you can too. My name is Denise Carter. I am 40 years old. I am an accountant who helped put my own husband in prison, and I am free. 3 years ago, I was a shell of a person. Confused, isolated, convinced that I was losing my mind. My husband had spent 8 years breaking me down, gaslighting me, drugging me, making me doubt everything I thought I knew. He hired a private investigator to destroy me. Instead, that investigator became my ally. Together we built a case that exposed 47 victims, $2.3 million in stolen money, and a web of lies that stretched across a decade. Vincent Carter is serving 23 years in federal prison. He will be an old man before he is eligible for parole. His victims received restitution. Not everything they lost, but something. And more importantly, they received justice. They saw the man who betrayed them face consequences. The other woman, Keandra, is raising her daughter. Destiny is 2 years old now, healthy, happy, completely unaware of the chaos that surrounded her birth. Keandra has a job, an apartment, a life. She is making it work. My sister circle is still together, still meeting every Thursday, still supporting each other through everything life throws at us. Marcus Webb still works as a private investigator, but now he specializes in helping victims of fraud and abuse. His mother is proud of him. So am I. And me, I am better than I have ever been. I have a career I love, friends who support me, a family that never gave up on me. I have peace, real peace, the kind that comes from knowing who you are and what you survived. I wake up every morning grateful. Grateful that I trusted myself when everything told me not to. Grateful that I found people who believed me. Grateful that I had the strength to fight back. And I am grateful for you, for listening, for caring, for making it all the way to the end of this story. If you are in a good place, I hope my story reminded you to appreciate what you have, and to look out for those who might not be so lucky. If you are struggling, I hope my story gave you hope. Hope that things can get better. Hope that you are not alone. Hope that freedom is possible. Either way, I want to leave you with one final thought. Trust yourself. Your instincts are valid. Your perceptions are real. That voice inside you that knows when something is wrong, listen to it. Do not let anyone, not a partner, not a family member, not anyone convince you that you cannot trust your own mind. You can. You must. Your survival depends on it. Vincent thought he could break me, thought he could poison my body and twist my thoughts and steal my future. But he underestimated me. He underestimated what a woman can do when she finally decides to fight back. He married an accountant. And accountants notice when the numbers do not add up. I noticed. I investigated. I documented. I built a case. And I won. Not just for myself. For every victim he stole from. For every woman who has ever been made to feel crazy by someone who claimed to love her. I won. And if you are in a situation like I was, you can win too. Trust yourself. Build your team. Gather your evidence. Make your plan. And when the time is right, take your life back. Because you deserve it. You deserve safety. You deserve peace. You deserve to wake up in the morning without fear. You deserve to be free. My name is Denise Carter, and this is my story. Thank you for listening. If this story moved you, if it made you think, if it made you feel something, I need you to do something for me. Hit that like button right now. Let me know this message reached you. Subscribe to this channel if you have not already. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story like this. And most importantly, comment below. Tell me where you are listening from. Tell me what this story meant to you. Type "trust yourself" in the comments if you have ever been made to doubt your own mind. Type "I see you" if you know someone who needs to hear this story. Type "survivor" if you have been through something like this and made it to the other side. I read every comment, every single one, and knowing that these stories reach people, that they matter, that they help even one person feel less alone. That is why I do this. Share this video with someone who needs it. A friend, a sister, a cousin, someone who might be struggling in silence, waiting for permission to trust themselves. You never know whose life you might change. And if you or someone you know is in an abusive situation, there is help available. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The number is 1-800-799-7233. They can connect you with resources in your area, help you create a safety plan, and most importantly, they believe you. You do not have to face this alone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. Thank you for being part of a community that lifts women up instead of tearing them down. This is Denise Carter. Stay safe, stay strong, and always, always trust yourself. Until next time.